What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to episode number 6 of what I have to say, and I think I speak for the world when I say this, is the best podcast on the internet. I mean, I just, Joe Rogan's got nothing on us. All these other podcasts got nothing on us. I mean, they aspire to be what the Pre-Patch podcast is. So with that being said, let me introduce the phenomenal hosts that we have. Obviously myself, Sinan, you know me, and then we've got my boy Agent Scruffy. What's going on, Scruff? How are you doing?
What's going on, guys? Hope everyone's doing well. What's good?
And right below him is the sexy man with the mane, Mr. Billy the Squid. What's going on, Bill?
What is up, fellow streamers and watchers?
And of course, the man with no face, no identity. He's pretty much anonymous, and we think maybe Patient Zero is enigmatical.
It's probably
Gaming. What's up, Enigma?
I had the sniffles the other day. It just got out of control. It really did.
I mean, it's okay. No one's gonna know his face. No one knows his true name. Only one person has seen an identity and made it out alive, which is Scruffy, and he's sworn to secrecy. So
Yep.
I think that we are
today, so I'm all right.
I'm really fiddlesticks. We were talking about it earlier. You guys just saw and I'm just mimicking right now. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
There we go. So, but welcome in everybody. Obviously, if you are new to this, we are being multi-streamed across multiple different channels. My stream, obviously, twitch.tv/S1N3N. We've got it over at Agent Scruffy stream, twitch.tv/Agent Scruffy. And then we've also got Mr. Billy the Squids, twitch.tv/Billy_the_squid. So you can catch our content pretty much anywhere. And because of our amazing team that we have here, it is also being uploaded to YouTube after the show, so you're able to catch it later on our YouTube channel as well. And I don't think we have a link to pimp out yet, right, Scruff? Like I think we're still working
We don't
on.
have a
Nah, yeah.
link. We have a link, a normal link, but we don't have a named link. We need subscribers for that. So everybody, if you can, go over,
Click that fucking
take a look
bell.
at the actual thing. Click that bell. Click that like button. Subscribe.
Yep.
All that jazz.
Absolutely. Well, man, I'm so happy, dude. Like I said this last week, and I'm super happy, Bill. You're back. Like last week, we were man down, but we were able to hold it down.
Yes.
We're happy to have you back now, full force, full team here. But I look forward to this, man. Every single time, literally, once the show ends, I like look forward to the next show in 2 weeks. And I hope as viewers across all these channels, you guys, really enjoy the content and the show. And if there are things that you guys are wanting to hear about, wanting to talk about, please feel free to add us either on Twitter or social media, or come into our channels and drop it there. We would love to be able to talk about what you guys want to hear about, and those things. But I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I love it. I look forward to it every single 2 weeks that we do this. So every single show.
No, definitely. Yeah, it doesn't come soon enough.
Yeah,
Honestly.
absolutely. So, this week, man, what we got a laundry list of stuff to talk about, man.
It's a load of shit to talk
yeah,
about for sure, man.
it is. It's a big boy list. But what I want to kick off with, because we talked about this last week, with Bill being out, he was actually the only one to have actually played this game, and I really want to get his opinion, because obviously I did the typical Sinan thing where I had my rant, my rave, and spouted off at the mouth. But I want to know from a person that's actually played it and someone that I trust's opinion. Final Fantasy VII Remake, man. Like, give us the dirty details, give us the insights. Okay,
so
awesome?
Like I said, I wasn't able to join last time. Have you guys played the original? Is the first question.
Oh, of course,
I have
yeah.
for you.
Yes, I have.
Okay. Well,
You say wait, well, hold on. Skirt. Back it up. Did you say no?
Nope.
Can
I've
we
never
get
played
this
any Final
fucker off?
Fantasies.
Okay, we are taking it's open applications right now for a member
Bro,
of the
I
pre-batch
played the good Final
podcast.
Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts.
Oh my god,
Shit.
get it out of
I'm
here,
triggering
bro.
You gotta
Just
remember,
kidding.
Scruffy's a wee little baby. He's a tiny man.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, we're taking applications, guys. There's a free spot open. So anyway, yes, for the majority of the people that actually matter on this show have played the
Oh, people who matter. I think there's only 3 people who really put work into this show. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Throwing out some Snickers.
We're not gonna start it.
Mentioned earlier,
Not
the
starting it
fucking
this
stores are
early.
closed.
Not
Not
this
this early. That's save for the end of the stream.
Bill, tell us about it.
Okay, so it is it's as far as the look, the aesthetic, everything about it is exactly like it's perfect. They nailed the bringing the graphics to a new generation. The updated score and soundtrack, super duper good. If you are into action RPGs, if you like the Kingdom Hearts game, if you like what they did with Final Fantasy 15, this is like it takes that to the next level as far as like how the gameplay actually feels. At least with Cloud, it's really good. It's definitely not without some flaws that I can see, but it's about as good of an action RPG remake as you can get from what I've seen so far. I've got a few concerns and a few like minor gripes. I covered it in a YouTube video, but it's all very minor things overall. It's really well done.
Does it feel so? One of the things that we talked about last week and concerned about was like this idea that a remaster versus a remake, and in this, like one of my things, and when I played it at E3 was I didn't particularly like it because it didn't feel like the original, right? Because and I think you kind of alluded to this, is the classic mode. Like it's not fucking classic. Like
that's one of my biggest gripes with it is exactly. Their version of classic mode is basically a game journalist mode so that the reviewers can actually get through the fucking game because they don't have to do anything. The game plays itself for the most part.
Whoa, what do you mean the game plays itself? Like, you mean
literally? So you turn it to classic mode, okay? The game automatically gets defaulted to easy. You can't change the difficulty in your classic mode, okay? That's the first big oopsie. Second big oopsie, you go into a fight. All of the regular movements in the fight, like the blocking, your basic attacks, are all auto-controlled. Your character moves around and does the shit on its own. The only thing you do in classic mode is when that ATB bar fills, you either cast a spell or do a special attack. The rest is automated.
What the fuck? That's not classic mode. That's baby mode, bro. Like
that is their idea of classic mode. I want to go on record and say I don't have a problem if you think this game is too hard for journalists or you want to like make the range of like the audience wider. If you just want people to come in for the story, because it is going to be a cinematic experience. It's going to be movie grade quality, I have a feeling. If you're trying to like broaden who all can play this and enjoy it, that's fine, but don't go and insult the original game itself by calling it classic when there is literally nothing classic about it. It's just a game that plays itself. Oh, you want to do Braver? Okay, well, good luck. Maybe the fight will be still going on by the time that charges up. Maybe not.
That's I don't know.
They could have done it with this system and made it okay. I think if they like scale things a little differently, like say give enemies more health or make like the auto attacks that are going on, like make it so that you see your people fighting automatically, that's fine, but it's not really doing anything to the enemy, and make the only impactful attacks be like your Braver or your Sonic Thrust or your Fires. Make those be the only things that like do real damage to the enemies.
Right.
That's fine.
Are the summons?
But there's so many other mechanics too that are just left to the wayside on classic mode as well. Like Cloud has 2 stances. You wouldn't know that if you played classic mode because he automatically goes through everything on his own.
Well, like why even? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was about to say. So do you think it's better to play it off of classic mode and play it on the new action combat mode? Then would it be a better experience?
I think that would be the only way to play it. Like, who the fuck wants to play the classic mode?
The final caveat to classic mode is if you want and you put in like a movement input or something while the automated fight is going on, it'll give you control of your character. It's not like you're not 100% locked out of fighting, but if you just wanted to walk into a fight, sit your controller down and watch Cloud beat some goons up, that's fine.
That is some fucking mobile bullshit right there. You know how like mobile games, some of them will like allow the computer or the game to take over for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
so it's basically auto mode. And like I said, it's fine if they want to have this mode in, call it like cinematic mode or like movie mode or whatnot. Just don't call it classic mode. When I heard that they were going to be advertising a classic mode version for this game, I assumed it was going to be as close to the original turn-based system as possible. I know they can't do that because it would be basically making 2 completely different games. Mm-hmm. And I know that's resource intensive. I know they can't reasonably do that, but they could have gotten a lot closer than what they did.
I mean, well, so hold on. The reality is it's actually, I mean, the code, if you look at the coding and the way that the game is done. Now, again, I have no coding degree, but like I know people that do have coding degree and work with people that have coding degree. Like that system particularly, it still is running off of a turn-based system. It's just all happening in an action, like it's all happening instantaneously versus being like, you're going to take your turn, then we're going to take my turn. So, I mean, it's still it's based off of like a initiative system of, you know, whether or not these attacks hit, whether or not these go off. Like, I don't think it would be that difficult to do, especially here's like my qualm with it is that when you're talking about Final Fantasy 7, especially 7, right? Which people, I don't call it the best Final Fantasy ever, but people do look at that as the best Final Fantasy. Like it is, to me, you're kind of slapping it in the face by saying like, we're going to take it down this road. Like, why not just make a prequel and be like, this is what was happening before you know, where Cloud was at and what all this, because we don't know really. There's
Because
not.
they've already done that. That's Crisis Core. That was a PSP game.
Okay, yeah, but how many people, honestly, God, played Crisis Core?
I didn't own a PSP, or I would have played it. 'cause
Exactly, but that's my point. You did so most. That's my thing. Most people didn't. For the most part, people didn't own a Crisis Core. Like they didn't see that. So you know, I don't know. I just even if they change the name to cinematic mode, to me changing it to this action RPG style and being Final Fantasy VII, I just am like. And
it's the route they're going with their games. All of their games are going to have this action orientation. They started it with 15, and 15's combat system was heavily flawed. It was honestly 15's fighting system was pretty close to automated as well, because with the fighting with that, you held block and you would automatically dodge. You held attack and you would automatically attack. Your attack variation depended on which way you were pushing on the D-pad.
Right.
But it basically fought itself just by you holding a button. This one actually gives you like stance changes. You actually like control your combos. There's different stuff you can do with it. It's like a fully fleshed out action, like hack and slash system.
It takes it into such a different style of game. Like I played 15 and I did I didn't play it all the way through. I played enough of it to get my feel for it. And I mean, I didn't have a problem with it. Right. But when you take a game that is either, and we talked about this with Baldur's Gate, when you take a game and you go from, action RPG down to turn-based or from turn-based to action RPG, it drastically changes the dynamic of what that game now becomes. Like it's not like you said, it is an action hack and slash game, essentially. I mean, that's the reality of that's what these games are now. Like that's not right. that I'm going to take my time. I'm going to learn I'm going to build a certain way so I can make sure that my characters are, this way.
I think that Square is having a
midlife crisis.
Kind of. So with the games beforehand, they had 13 and 12. They both took the fighting system and drastically changed them, but they were still at the core a turn-based fighting system, like with how everything worked. And I think they just messed those up so bad. They're just trying to do a complete reboot of how they're having an identity crisis. They had so much success with Kingdom Hearts that they're trying to pull that style into their main franchises. I'm fine with that. I think they're good games. I think 15 was a good game. I enjoyed it. I think 7 is going to be good. You are correct in the fact that it changes the pacing of the game. It changes the overall feel. The narrative is going to be the same, but when you go into playing the OG Final Fantasy VII, you're going in for a chill experience. Whereas with this one, you're actually going to be, it's going to be more intense, more intensive, like attention wise. You're not going to be able to just sit there for 20 minutes in a fight, like calculating which attack's going to be the next best thing.
Yeah.
Question.
Getting builds together.
Got a question. What actual aspects from like the original Final Fantasy VII did they either take out or totally remake other than the combat? It seems.
So the demo is pretty limited in what all they give you access to. You don't have any access to summons. You only have access to one other character, and that's Barret.
I mean, they kept the same setting, right? Like the setting is the same, characters are the same.
Every single thing about the story is the same, and then they're expanding on it. They're going to actually give more personality to a lot of the side characters that they just didn't have time for with the original game. Like all of
they
Avalanche,
said a lot of it got cut out, right? A lot of it got cut out.
All of Avalanche is going to be. Yeah, exactly. All of Avalanche is going to get their own side stuff. You're going to get to know a lot more about like the town itself, like Midgar itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they're justifying doing it episodically. It's apparently I think it's going to be 3 or 4 parts. I think 4.
Are they charging full price for all these episodes?
Full price for each episode.
Fuck that, dude.
Oh my gosh.
Fuck
of course
that,
they are,
man.
dude.
That's fucking trash, dude.
They're justifying that by making it. They've quoted this game to be 40 hours worth of content in Midgar alone. This game takes place from what you saw in the demo to the big finale in Midgar.
Yeah, but okay, that's great. But I'm not going to go. I don't know. That doing a price tag like that is absolutely asinine. To say that I'm going to do $60 for this one and then $60 for it's 60, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be a 60
Fuck
price full.
that, dude. That's
Yeah,
that's fucking
rough.
that's atrocious. They should not. I don't know. That's to me is absolutely asinine to take a game and it's dirt. To me, it's dirty and underhanded. Like I get it, 40 hours of content or whatever else, but even still, like that's not even a dollar per hour worth of time. And like in most cases, I'd be like, okay, cool, but like you want to charge me $40, I could maybe be behind it. Maybe be behind
Well, especially considering how most of the story is what 15 20-year-old story. Like
Right.
it's not like we haven't seen a lot of the story before. I would understand if it was like a complete rehash of the actual storyline.
And people in chat are saying, yeah, but people buy the same COD and FIFA every year, but that's different. This is one game that is being busted up into episodic content to where realistically they could just release the fucking thing as a whole and for one price, but they're choosing not to. It's very hard not to see this as being a cash grab to say, oh, well, we could just break this up and grab money from it. Like it's not, that's like saying if, okay, I'm going to charge for the single player versus of COD, which not saying Activision is not trying to figure out how to fucking do this, but I'm going to charge for the single player version of COD. I'm going to charge for the multiplayer version of COD. I'm going to charge for every single mode that COD does. And, and then all the DLC. Like this is, yes, people are good.
So it is a $60 price tag, and it's a trilogy. So it's 3 parts, $60 each. 30 hours worth of main content, and then an extra 30 of side content. Is what they're quoting.
That's $180 for a fucking game is ridiculous, dude. Like that's
I'm fine with this as long as there's enough content within each installment to justify a full price. Yeah. I go heavily on the dollar per hour mindset. And I personally don't enjoy the Final Fantasy VII storyline enough to like justify buying the whole thing. But if the game's fun enough and there's enough side content to make like keep me coming back, like enough side games, enough of all that stuff, I'll be fine with it. I don't think the Final Fantasy VII story is that good. I'm interested to see how they expand upon it and justify what they're pushing forward.
I just
interesting.
I don't
Would
know.
you think that they should have a lower price point for each episode, or like, even? I mean, I'd say like a lower price would be fair. Like maybe
it would be fair.
$20 to 30.
It all depends on how much stuff's in the game. Like I said,
right.
It's hard to justify a $30 price tag when there's 60 to 100 hours worth of content, and this is going to be the smallest segment that they're saying. Saying once they get into parts 2 and 3, there's going to be even bigger games than this one.
So here's my issue with this, and I think I could probably speak for Enigma very closely, is that I guarantee you that this is cutting room floor shit. Like this is stuff that got cut out and whatever else, and they are just saying, "Oh, you know what?
Let's." You think?
Well, I'm not saying from forever ago. I'm saying that they designed this game, and then some fucking idiot behind like that's crunching numbers was just like, oh well, let's just chop up the game into 3 pieces, and we're going to pick up some of the pieces that are over here on the floor, and we're going to shove them into the thing, and we're going to charge it for $60, and we're going to say it's side content. Fuck you, man.
It's the new way of doing things. Like I've been seeing a lot of it coming out with some of these newer games that are coming out where they'll completely dismantle a game just for the sole purpose of being able to charge even more money on top of what they already do.
Let's be realistic here. Square's not exactly the best company as far as trying to milk their audience. They've remade pretty well remastered, because you slap an HD texture pack and then market it at $30.
Right.
They've done that with pretty well every one of their games. There's a port to every system out there, and they're definitely in it for the money. But to their credit, from the time that they announced that this game was coming out, they've never said that it was going to be a single game experience and then took that back. It's always been either they didn't say what it was going to be, or they said it was going to be episodic. They've never tried to change the narrative on that, I guess, and I can give them credit for that. They've stuck with that since pretty well the first trailer.
I don't know.
What do you think is going to be next? Do you think they're going to charge you $20 to give Tifa some bigger badonkadonks?
They're gonna charge you per summon. You want this summon? It's $5. That's the next mode.
I think they're gonna. There's gonna be a battle pass. I think. I'm just saying.
Let me solve this for you guys. You guys want this content? There's plenty of places that you can go and download a ROM and an emulator and get the same fucking experience. I mean, yeah, it's not gonna be as pretty, but it's the same goddamn story and experience and the way it's meant to be played for free, like on a ROM. Or go buy yourself a PlayStation for $20 and the game for maybe $7. And you can enjoy it for under $30. Like,
let's pause right there. Preach Patch podcast to members' opinions do not.
Yes,
we do not condone the
use of an emulator. Yes, that's great.
Right.
Sin does
the game. Back to the game itself. As it holds up fundamentally as a game, it's very good. The only issues I'm concerned about is Cloud felt amazing. Cloud felt very fleshed out. He's got 2 stances. He's got different combos. He's got a bunch of stuff going for him. And then you swap over to Barret, and it's just hold the machine gun down,
it's
reload, and stuff like that. It's a different playstyle, but it felt really boring in comparison.
He's also not a main character though, right? He's a side character.
Well, in the original, he was.
He's a main character.
Yeah, he's the main character in the original.
I mean, Cloud is the main character. He's the other characters have always been a side character. They might be a main portion of the story, but they've always been a side character. It's always been about Cloud and Sephiroth.
That is true. Yeah, Cloud is the central protagonist. Yeah.
So that's where
still, if you're gonna give somebody playability over a character, I would want more of a fleshed out system. And I understand he's the gunner character. He's the guy that's meant to sit back in the back and just pop caps. I understand that. And from what I've seen with of what they've shown in gameplay trailers, Tifa looks like she's really fleshed out. It seems like all the melee characters are really fleshed out, but all the mage style characters are going to be a little meh.
You think that might be a limitation from the Final Fantasy 15 combat port that they did? Maybe
no,
they didn't really...
because with the DLCs that came out, they gave each of the other characters playability, and they had a gunner that played pretty interestingly in that with Prompto. They actually made him very fun to play. He has like dodges, he has quick shoots, he has like little snipe events inside of his combat segments. He's a lot of fun.
They didn't have a magic caster, 15, right? So they didn't really have a magic caster though, did they?
There was no magic in 15. All the magics were like consumables. You built they were called spells, but they were basically grenades. You put a whole bunch of elements together, threw an item in, and then it did an effect whenever you threw it onto the field.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, and again, that's the thing. Like, honest to God, I think that the better play here would have been to not even do 7. Like, I think if you're gonna this is Final Fantasy 16. Different characters. The amount of and let's be honest, the amount of time and effort they spend into this, like, to not have to do a storyline.
But you don't get the nostalgia sales off of that,
right? Yeah, but let me finish. Right, let me finish. You do 7 the way 7's supposed to be done. Right, you remaster 7. Like, that's what nostalgia wanted, was not a remake. We wanted a remaster. We wanted 7 to look how 7 looked with this time frame, this graphics, this capability. And we wanted to play 7 the way it wanted to be played, like how we played it before. You then come out with this of being either it's a side path of 7 with the completely different name, Crisis Core, whatever the fuck you want to do with it, but it's its own complete thing. And I don't think you have as much backlash because it's like, well, this isn't 7. This is the side part of 7. There's something different, right? This is something that we've never experienced before. I feel like
I don't know about that, because like the whole allure of the 7 remake for me was the fact that they took it into more of an action combat, way of playing.
Sinan, one thing I'll say is the gameplay itself feels good. I don't of all the things to criticize this remake over, the gameplay itself is the weakest critique I could give. You can critique the price point, you can critique them selling it in episodic format, you can critique all of that, but the gameplay itself, it's gonna be a really fun game to play. It is gonna be a lot of fun.
It's not that I'm critiquing the game. Like, let me make sure I'm clear. It's not that I'm critiquing the gameplay style. I believe in that style. I like the action combat system style. I think that because of the name, and what the nostalgia brings to it, that hampers it. It does take a hit, in my opinion. Again, I'm only one person and it is what it is, but in my opinion, it takes a hit because of that. Like, because of the fact that this is 7. I played 7 before, and what it was, this is not it. Like, and from a gameplay perspective, from a storyline perspective, whatever, but from a gameplay perspective, this is not my 7. That's just me.
I'm gonna say one more thing, and I'm not picking on you. There's
Pick.
3 games technically in the 7 universe right now, and only one of them plays in a turn-based system. Crisis Core was an action RPG, and Dirge of Cerberus was a third-person shooter.
Right, but when
So
you say, so I'll fire back. Whenever you say Final Fantasy 7 to the majority of people, do they come back and be like, "Oh yeah, Crisis Core," or do they go, "Oh, Final Fantasy 7"? Like, that's my thing. Like like the majority
It's
of the
definitely
population,
the most played of those.
right? Like, that's my thing, is that I'm not, I could be like, "Oh yeah, bicycle, whatever. I'm gonna go on a ride on a bicycle," but I'm gonna pull out a fucking unicycle or a tandem bicycle. Most people aren't gonna think that when I say bicycle, I mean a fucking tandem 2-seater. They think the single seater. Like, that's all I'm saying. Like, and again, I may be completely
No,
wrong.
I get it.
Call me old man Sin, but it just,
I mean, you are old man soon.
I get it.
I'm just
That's
saying
true.
they've taken this particular universe into action routes and been moderately to above moderately successful with it in the past. And I
Yeah.
think I think that will be fine. I think if you played it, you might change your tune on it a little bit. Like, if you played the demo and stuff.
I mean, I played it
I
at
think-
E3. Like,
I think the main allure is going to be the fact that you've got the people that've been playing 15. They're the newer generation. They're wanting to get into Final Fantasy a little bit. They're hearing from all their their brother or their father or whatever, whoever's been able to play Final Fantasy 7 originally. That Final Fantasy 7 was a staple in the community, right? And I think it's going to be one of those things where it not only is Square Enix trying to kind of milk the nostalgia, but I think they're also just trying to give a more easy route to get into some of the older Final Fantasies
Yeah.
to the newer generation through this.
And I mentioned that in my video too. Like, you have
Yeah.
to take into account this is bringing a
whole
new generation of gamers, and a lot of this modern generation isn't going to buy into that old style combat. It's dated. It is dated, unfortunately. As much as I love the old school turn-based system, you wouldn't be able to make a game today with that system and have it sell as well as it did back then.
bullcrap. Sorry, but bullcrap, dude. Look, Baldur's Gate is going the complete opposite direction. Baldur's Gate 3 is going from action RPG combat to a turn-based system. Like,
But that's already a niche community as is. Those guys are tabletoppers.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a D&D community already.
so is
Like,
Final
you're-
Fantasy.
you're-
Final Fantasy is there for a certain type of experience, story, summons.
It hasn't been that way for 15 plus years at this point.
I think I agree with
E-
Bill. I think I'd rather play something that's more of an
Even
action combat.
13.
You
which
can't
was
even
the
talk. You
last-
haven't played the original.
Exactly.
even
I'm
even
saying I'd
13
rather go to something like that.
Well, yeah, but see, Scruffy is a perfect example of that.
It
right?
appeals to
He's
me
somebody
more.
that's
I've never played that kind of style,
Yeah.
so
You-
I don't
He's
think I
somebody
want
that
to
has
now.
never played 7 before, but instead
Yeah.
of going and
God
redoing
dang,
what
Gen
we did
Zers are
20 plus
ruining
years
my
ago.
gaming experience. God,
All
I bet
I'm
you prefer
saying
the
is-
Michael Bay's, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 to the original, huh? Or have you seen Teenage Mutant
No,
Ninja
I
Turtles?
don't like TMNT.
Oh my
This is where I
God!
wish- This is where I wish I had a fucking soundboard that does the little okay boomer stupid
Right.
bullshit. That
Okay,
went on.
Enigma, you can't do that because I know damn good and well that you prefer the.
I do, I do,
exactly,
but I also
so-
understand where these guys are coming from. Like,
Yeah.
again, it's an easier
I'm just trying to
route
play devil's
for
advocate
people
because
to get into it,
I'm
yeah.
from the generation that loved the turn-based, but
Mhm.
it's of the past. Square is already solidifying what they want to do with the future of the games with Kingdom Hearts 3, with the new Final Fantasy 7. The last turn-based game that they had, which was Final Fantasy 13, was still like mostly actiony. Like, if you watch that game, they could have very easily turned that into a hack and slash and it would have been fine. It's just the way that genre of game is going.
Yeah, and I mean, again, honestly,
It's
my
unfortunate.
hang up is literally the fucking name. Like, it's the name. Like, change the name, do a different game, do a new. It's not in that universe, and we're fine. like I would be okay. But the fact that you're saying that it's 7, the fact that you're,
But
you
it
know-
is 7.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
It's a remake, not a remaster.
right. That's what I'm saying. Like that's my. that's,
He would prefer a remaster over a remake.
Right.
I mean, I agree with that. We talked
Right.
about
Which
this
is
last
what
week,
we thought we
right?
were going to get with a classic.
Yeah,
mode.
we,
This all
right.
comes
we
back
talked
to
about
them.
this last week where we said the exact same thing, that we think that it should have been a remake rather than just a remaster. But that's just a terminology thing, honestly.
It is.
right. And again, I'm not saying that the game is not good. All I'm saying is that in my perspective, it's just, it to me feels like a slap in the face because it's just like, that's not, it's not 7. Like it's
Mhm.
great.
No.
It's the same story, it's the same characters or whatever else, but it's not 7. And in a movie, you can do that. I can, you know, again, Michael Bay has ruined my childhood with Transformers and fucking TMT, like TMNT. But you know, in a game where I'm playing it and I am the person controlling it, it's a different experience. You know what I mean? Like, don't fuck with my childhood. Like, don't just.
And that's
Mhm.
valid. I'm not gonna. I've already picked on you enough on.
I'm a
What
big.
is
I'm
subjective,
I'm a
guys?
big boy. I can take it. It's okay.
But that's valid, and I think they are aware that taking it into an action RPG route, you're gonna lose some of your nostalgia. But I think you're gonna keep a lot just because of how good the gameplay actually feels, and that new audience coming in is gonna make up for
Yeah.
anybody that's like stuck on the old style. And I am torn apart about how classic mode is. I'm with you on that. I wanted the option to be able to play it turn-based. It's unfortunate that's not the case. I still think it's going to be fun. I'm still going to end up getting at least part 1 to see how it plays out, and that'll determine what I do with the future pieces.
I do think it's priced way too much.
It's fucking crazy. Yeah. Either way, yeah, we can all agree on the fact that $180 for a goddamn video game busted up into 3 pieces is fucking stupid. Like,
Yeah, that is dumb.
that's fucking ridiculous. Well, cool. We're glad to have had that kind of piece because, like I said, we didn't get to really, we talked about it, but we didn't get to really talk about it on last episode. So,
Mhm.
Also, one of my chats said that there's a rumor that Red 13 is not going to be playable, and if that's the case, then fuck everything about this game.
Yeah,
I
if
understand if he's not
Ooh.
playable in this first part because he's just discovered at the end of this first part, and I think he was a guest. He was what they called a guest character, one that like fought on its own, but you didn't control it. That's fine, but if he's not playable in the other 2 parts, there's going to be problems.
Yeah, if they don't pop him in, because he was a major staple. Like
Oh, yeah.
even for being a non-playable character, he was a major staple
Yeah.
of the actual.
He's
entire
going to be in the original or in the part 1. He's probably going to fight with you. You're probably not going to be able to control him, but if he's not controllable later, that's going to
It's gonna be
piss a
rough.
lot of people
Yeah.
off.
I'm also interested
Anyway,
to see
moving on.
how the summons. I do want to see how the summons work because 7 was one of the first times that summon, like you had summons previous to that, but 7 really set the bar for where summons went to, because I think, if I'm not saying corrected, but if I'm wrong, but wasn't 7 the first time that we actually saw summons in 3D? Like that was the first 3D sprited.
This is the first 3D Final Fantasy period.
No. I'm talking. Yeah, but 7 was. I mean, 7 was on the PlayStation was still a polygonal, but it was still a 3D style game. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like Final Fantasy, like, so the summons are very, very crucial here to hit. And the 15 summons, if it's like that, I'm okay.
It's not. It's not. The way the summon system works in this is it's going to be materia based like it was in the original. You take the summon materia, you put it into your gear somehow, some way, and then you actually summon that character and you get to control that summon on the
Interesting.
battlefield. You
Mhm.
actually get to control moves.
How do you do
summon
Knights of the
does.
Night or Knights of the, or right? No, what is it?
We don't know. The only one we've seen so far is Eat Free, but he was 100% playable in that regard.
That's really fucking weird.
Yeah, I think the way they did it is whoever summons the person stays on the battlefield. The other 2 characters kind of get pushed off, and then it's you, like that person that summoned, and then the summon itself, and you can bounce back between those 2.
As long
And
as they-
Leviathan was
they-
shown, but
And they need Leviathan, they need Garuda, and they need
Yeah. I think they're going to have all the summons from 7. I don't know how playable or what their rules are going to be like in game. All we know is that Leviathan was shown and is most likely going to be playable. Ifrit was definitely playable.
That's weird. I don't know. That's weird to me. Okay. Well, yeah, so moving on to other topics. I mean, we spent, unless anybody,
that was a stuttered fucking transition.
I mean, what okay, awesome. So let's talk about other playable characters that you can do in video games and summon things.
Professional.
Hey, that was better than.
Okay, well, I don't know how we transitioned from that into fucking coronavirus and canceling shit. So you summon, so like you summon Bahamut and it completely destroys the entire world. We now have summoned the coronavirus that has completely destroyed the world. There's your. Is that a good enough transition for you, fucker? Jesus Christ! Like,
yep, that's good.
God
Almighty.
Confirmed to me also that Red is going to be playable in the other two parts. He's just not going to be at the end of this game, so he will be in the other ones, which is good.
It does make sense.
Yeah.
Well, see, now you ruined my transition.
We transitioned. I think we went back. We gotta transition again.
God
please.
dang it. Okay, well, I'm going to put you on quarantine, Bill. So, like Bill being in quarantine, so did a lot of our conferences get in quarantine. Obviously, that's not social distancing. Get yourself at least 6 feet away from Scruffy. In any case, obviously, we're not really going to dive into the coronavirus. And what I will say, and I think I can speak for the entire podcast, is please don't get your information from a fucking podcast or from streamers out there. They are not health professionals. They are not government officials. They are not a knowledgeable body to get your stuff. And I swear to fucking God, if you're getting your information from Casey Tron or anybody else that's on the goddamn internet, you're a fucking moron. So please don't do that.
What are you talking about, man? I got a hypothetical fucking degree in coronavirus.
Congratulations. Is it because you bought a 12-pack and you're yes, exactly. So in any case, what I will say is that with this being a very serious thing, I mean, a lot of this stuff has kind of a lot of the events have been canceled, right? You have E3's been canceled, all of these, right. It's a very weird time for gaming. But what what I see coming out of this is actually, I think, what the evolution of what our industry is going to become, right? I think this really pushes forth the matter of, is it needed to have these big, expensive ass conferences where everybody comes together? Like, trust me, as someone that went to it, that dreamed of going to E3 and went to an E3, yeah, it's like, oh my God, I've made it to Nirvana. I'm in Valhalla. Like, this is it. Like, kill me now. I'm done. Like, yes, to have that experience is great. But the reality of it from a business perspective and from just an industry perspective, it's a waste of money. It's a waste of time. It's a, hey, look at my dick. It's bigger than your dick. Like, kind of show. And I mean, we've been seeing companies pull out of these conferences left and right anyway before this. So I just want to kind of get your guys' opinion on what the fuck is in your hand. What is that thing?
I'm doing hand exercises. My tendonitis has been flaring up again. Okay. So
I didn't know
if it's distracting.
I just didn't know what it was. What the fuck it was?
It's a tentacle.
Yeah, goddamn ADD fucking podcast right now. We're like, oh my God, there's stuff moving on the screen.
But I wanted to get your guys' opinion on, kind of this, because again, to me, it just kind of puts forward the thought that this is what we should be doing. Like, we should be doing a more digital kind of conferencing, at least for like E3 and these kind of events where it is more about what you're presenting versus the big flash show, kind of thing.
It kind of ties into what I wanted to talk about with the E3 cancellation in the first place. Was like, we've been hearing about little rumbles for the past like 2-3 months if E3 was even going to be a thing. Even prior to the whole COVID-19 situation in the first place, we were hearing that their announcer had pulled out. He wasn't going to be doing the announcement where he had been doing. I can't remember his name. He's been doing their announcements for years and years and years.
Not Jeff Keighley, is it?
Keighley, yeah, I think that was
okay.
he basically got ousted or left at least. We heard news that PlayStation wasn't going to be showing up again, which wasn't a big surprise. PlayStation hasn't been showing up for a good
3 years
4
now?
years, last
Yeah.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
We already knew that Nintendo wasn't going to show up because Nintendo hasn't been showing up for like a good 5 to 6 years at E3.
Well,
And
let me say, they didn't do their press conference. They have a massive fucking booth. Like, though I think a lot of people don't understand because they're not there. Like, they don't do a presentation, like a big ass presentation showcase, but they are fucking there in mass. Like, they hold almost the way it's set up is you have the South Expo Hall and the North Expo Hall. And
I should say they don't do any of their
The
major
presentation,
announcements at E3, and they haven't done a major announcement at E3 for a very long time when it comes to their actual consoles and the stuff that they've been doing with them, right? So it's one of those things where I've been thinking this to myself, like even last year I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, is E3 even going to be a thing in another 2 or 3 years? Because we see a trend going on with multiple different like console directs, like Xbox. They were talking about it not coming like last year. I remember that. PS, obviously, Sony and PlayStation haven't been going for a long time. What's the draw once all these big names kind of leave? There's no reason to go to E3 at that point, right? There's very specific reasons why people go to these kind of conventions, and it's to see these kinds of things with the PlayStation 5 release announcements, with the Xbox 360 and the Xbox announcements, right? We haven't seen that for a long time other than from Xbox, which they've been going on doing their own thing right now, right? Which they could do themselves easily. Like, they're a huge company. They could be doing the exact same thing that Sony's doing with PlayStation,
Right.
just putting on an Xbox Direct. So that was my biggest thing, is it's like, why are we even going to this? Like, why is E3 even a thing? Like, it's honestly more of a hassle than I think that it's a boon to the gaming community these days.
As
Personally.
somebody who's never been to one of these events, has the attendance been going down over the past few years? Could that be like spurring, like, it's not worth putting the resources into?
so
I don't think so.
it's not. So the attendance from a press perspective is not there. That is why they open the doors to consumers to be able to buy tickets. E3 obviously used to only be a press event. Like, if you had to be pressed to get into it. Now it is an event where you can absolutely buy tickets and go to it as a normal gamer. And they have different badges that say like press and things like that. And there are certain spots that you can't get into from a press, like if you're a gamer, and that you can only get to from press. And that's where games are played that you can't. Like, they'll show a demo of some shit, but you're not gonna be able to play it.
Like, Cyberpunk had one last year where they did like a back out of the way thing that only press was allowed to be at. So
They actually let at E3 last year, they let gamers play that. They let gamers play Cyber. Yeah, they had, like, was a gamer line. There's like certain things that press would be able to get extended amounts of time with with it, but it's, or be able to skip lines and like that. But attendance has dropped over the years. It's not as buzzy as what it used to be. But I mean, again, a lot of that is because our landscape has changed. I mean, the gaming landscape is not, it's not what it was. I mean, it's not exclusives anymore. It's not like the big, I mean,
I think a lot of it has to do with that, as well as the fact that, again, the reason for you to go to those types of conventions was to see the things that you wanted to see, like the PlayStation releases,
all the announcements,
the
and
Xbox
stuff.
releases. And if Sony's pulling out, there's no reason for that subsection of the community to even go at that point. They're not going to go. They're not going to spend their money on E3 if they can just spend their money on Sony's reveal.
Right.
Well, not even just that too, but like a lot of this stuff, because these games aren't exclusive anymore. I mean, if I don't see it from Sony, okay, cool, I'll see it from Xbox. Like, I'll see it from, it'll be on a PC or whatever else. I mean, what I spent the majority of my time doing at E3, I mean, obviously I was there for work, but a lot of it was actually spending it at indie places. It was in the indie booth sections where it was like stuff that you didn't get to hear about, things that you didn't get to know, existed or whatever else. And they're so shoved off in this like little subsection of a thing because these companies buy up these massive spaces. I feel like it just proves like this. I just let me say I hope that I hope this goes well. I hope these digital formats go well because I think that all that it does is put more money back into the game development. It puts more money back into these companies of actually saying like, hey, like let's not spend this massive show, right? And it really lets us get down to the nit and gritty. Now, what I will say is that, and this kind of segues into some of the other conversations that we have, and I'm trying to do a beautiful segue for you, Enigma, because I want to make sure that it flows properly.
As long as it's not just
Jesus
should be fun.
Christ, is that they, you know, like PlayStation's release, their PlayStation 5 fucking conversation. Did you listen to the hour and 45 minutes of what that was? Anybody listen to any of that?
No.
Okay. Do any of you guys have a fucking architectural or engineering degree?
Nope, but I heard you pretty
I have
much
a
had to
roommate
be
that
a
does.
fucking rocket science
Yeah,
to figure
There,
out what the
I'm
fuck
not
they were talking
fucking
about.
kidding you. So I sat and watched that hour and almost 2 hour long fucking conference, right? And I swear to God, I walked out of that and was like, I'm pretty sure I can either land a rover on Mars or I can at least get fucking close to build a goddamn
bomb,
rocket because
Right.
I'm not kidding you when they're talking about like, oh, and if we can show you these two different graphs that show like sound noises in the CPU RAM protocols that we brought down 7.2 decibels that blocked out the interference and interpedance. I'm like, bro, just show me that like the jiggle physics of these of Dead or Alive is going to be better than what it was on 4 or like just
Well, it's,
you know, I mean,
and see that's always been honestly an issue that I've had with these big conventions when it comes to like actually being there and watching the developers is that just how cringy and how just unbelievably hard it is to understand some of them sometimes. And it's like, I get it, I understand it. You're either a game developer or you're a console developer. They're not usually the best with social interactions, right? But that I don't know. It's bad.
that was a press conference
it's
though.
bad. Yeah,
Like that's
it
a
gets
fucking
really
press
bad.
conference that you announced to the public and live streamed. Like, dude, if I have to hear the word teraflop one more fucking time, I swear to God, I'm gonna slap somebody. Like, it just is. I don't give a shit. I mean, obviously, I'm a PC gamer anyway, so I could give two fucks about the Xbox X or whatever the fuck it's called and the PlayStation 5. Like, I don't give a shit. Like either way, but like to me, I want to know is the new Xbox going to have Steam? Like that's what we've heard, you know, rumors about, right? Are they going to be built on an X10 or Windows 10 or whatever the next Windows platform is, where they're going to be able to be booted into Windows, right? Are we basically getting a kind of down
Mini tower.
yeah, a mini PC? I mean, that's essentially what it is. Like, I don't give a fuck about what kind of dampening impedance, which I'm not kidding you, was a word that was used. Like, I don't give a shit about what your CPU, how it can negate sound that's going to affect the overall thread capacity of how well this thing runs. Like, who gives a shit? Who sat there during that thing and was like, fuck, you know what? Fuck the Xbox. Because I'm only.
You know, there's a
Honestly, there was
0.2%
probably
of the
some people.
population that was just rock hard for that entire
there,
thing.
there was probably some people
Like
that were
whisper
like,
teraflop in
"Oh."
my ear one more time, and I'm
Yeah.
about to tear a pop.
Okay, I'm sure. Congratulations. Like,
there was
Great.
about 20, there was about 10 to 20% of people that were doing the fucking transition sound that you just made.
like
When you said that.
yeah, sure. Like, I get it. I don't know, man. It's just again like
It's catering to a niche of the consumer base that actually cares, but
Yeah, but this shows
You're
me
right.
of
No, I
how
get you.
fucking out of touch. Like, this reminds me of Sony being out of touch when Sony, like with the PlayStation 3, right? Like, I think for the longest time we can say like Xbox has been way missing the mark. Like the Xbox One series, like this entire generation has been really a kind of a like, oh fuck moment, right? When you go from like the Xbox 360 to the Xbox One, the Xbox 360 dominated the market. Xbox One, they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Like they were going in 17 different directions and whatever else. And they kept touting like all this PCU power or whatever. That's where teraflop started. Like, thanks. You know, and so, but then PlayStation with the PlayStation 3 to me always seemed like it was just like going after the wrong market, man. Like people like, you know, Crovid says in my chat, like all I care about are exclusives. That's it. Like the community doesn't give a shit. Like, yeah, great. You're catering to the 1%. Like, you know, okay, nobody gives a fuck. As long as it runs, it looks great, it can produce in high quality, and I guarantee you that the only thing that's going to matter is that Digital Foundry is going to rip it to shreds and let me know how many FPS I can get at the highest setting and which one of these fuckers is lying about being 4K or 8K and not. Like, that's it. And then at that point, that's going to be the only mood point, and then it's going to go down to games, right, and exclusives, and what they can do. I mean, that's so. To me, it just reminds me of Sony way missing the mark with their kind of marketing strategy with this. Especially,
I think the issue with the PS3 for a lot of people that I talked to wasn't that they were missing the mark. Like the system itself was fine. It was just way overpriced. That was a $599 console and a $399 market.
Oh, see,
there was a lot that was
that's
wrong
going to
with
be
the
a situation.
This new one's supposed to be over in the
to
700s.
begin with. Yeah,
I think that's what it's estimated.
That's what Sony's platform.
Right.
Xbox is not. Xbox has
No,
said.
yeah, the new PS5.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be like
Xbox
700
is,
to 800.
Yeah, Xbox said that they are going. That I mean, again, Phil Spencer said, and Phil Spencer isn't necessarily the one to always keep his word, but he's pretty good about it. Said that they are going to be at a 500 and under price tag. Which, if that's the case, good on them. I'm impressed.
Right.
Even at 500 though, that's
still beating
I heard the
PlayStation.
500,
price tag, man.
but I also heard the PlayStation's going to be 550.
I've
I
heard
don't know if
it's
it was a 50
estimated to be a lot
price increase.
more.
Okay.
I don't know. That's just what I've heard.
I heard the price of production went up on it more than they were expecting when they made that, but I didn't know if they've actually jumped the price on it.
Well, it's
we'll have
estimated
an
right now. Nothing's been released by them.
Yeah, but okay.
Okay.
Here's my thing too. Like, again, old man Sen, whatever you want to call me. Like, you know, I get it. Like, you go watch Bill because he's sexy and beautiful, and you go watch Scruffy because he's sensible. You come to watch me to I rant and rate and poop in my diaper. Like, the thing about it is that let's get past this, guys. Like, the system that you're buying, it's not like it's cheap. People that play on PC, we've been building rigs that cost anywhere upwards of, you know, $500 gets us a cheap rig. That you know, so we're used to paying for that. Like, it's time to get out of the console. Like, if that's what you want, keep your Xbox One. Like, if you want the newest, latest, greatest shit, fucking pony up and
see, that's
pay the money
what I was
for
saying
it.
is like if like baseline it is at a $500 price range, like when you're looking at it, at least when I look at it, and I'm like, man, like for $500 I could either get an Xbox, whatever they're called. I think it's going to be like a Ruby or some shit. I can either get one of those, or I could go and build a PC for $500 and get better performance out of it. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it just so. At the end of the day, I think to me, it's in going, you know, getting back all on the E3 thing and the digital stuff. Like, to me, I think these press conferences are good. I think doing it this way in a digital format is good. But when you do it, when it's a nothing but spec per stuff, and especially because this is the first time we saw the PlayStation 5. Like, this is the first time we heard anything about it, and this is what you fucking do. Like,
it definitely should have had a little bit better, a little bit more pizzazz, a little bit better of a bang for that first, like when it comes to like Xbox, the new Xbox, when they announced it, it was, hey, by the way, we're remaking Halo, and hey, by the way, the new Halo is coming out. Oh, and hey, by the way, it's also going to be coming out on the new fucking console.
Right. Like, and
it was like bam, 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 and people were like, oh my god, holy shit,
yeah.
what the hell is going on? But with PlayStation, it was like you said, it was like it almost felt like a fucking like stock market meeting.
Yeah.
Well, and if you look at the trends, like if you look at social media as like kind of what people are saying, like it used to be that PlayStation dominated kind of the play space. Now it's everyone is saying, I'm going to buy the new Xbox One or whatever the fuck this thing. What is this thing called? Xbox X? Is that what it's called?
Xbox Series X.
Series X. Okay. God, fuck these names. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So this, you know, XXS or XXXL system, whatever the
Triple X.
Yeah, the OnlyFans edition, whatever the fuck it is.
If they name it Triple X, I just want a picture of Vin Diesel on it. Just
Oh my god.
Oh.
Yeah, well, if it's anything like the Fast and Furious game, please, dear God, don't give me that.
Oh god, don't get on that.
But
Xbox Sex from here on out.
yeah,
There you go.
the sex box. It's
The
my
sex-
sex box.
They're taking notes from Elon Musk then.
Right? Like,
But yeah, to kind of get it back on the rails with it, like with the way that things have been turning out because of the COVID situation. I think it's pushing us into a better situation with it when it comes to like these new releases and everything like that. I think it's going to be less of an issue of people, you know, going in buying these tickets for these big conventions and then not getting to where they need to go to see what they want to see, because that's one thing that I've heard a lot of with like press and like streamers and stuff when it comes to like getting to these certain events like E3.
It's thousands of dollars, man.
You don't well, it's thousands of dollars, and you don't get to where you want to go half the time. Like
No, I mean-
you're there, and you miss out on a lot of stuff. Like you're at one section of the portion, and people are like, "Hey, did you see this?" And you're like, "No, I didn't. I was fucking stuck in the line."
the
for this."
cyberpunk line, luckily, because I went there for work, I got to kind of skirt this, but the cyberpunk line was a 4.5 hour wait, and
Yeah.
that was
that's ridiculous.
that wasn't even the longest line. I think if I'm not mistaken, the longest line was for Final Fantasy, and I think that one was a 6.5 to almost 7 hour wait. You're talking about an entire day at this convention.
You're legitimately stuck in a line for 6 to 8 hours
Right.
to play one game when you could be, like, honestly, you could have gotten a lot more bang for your buck if you just would have fucking watched it online and watched all the reveals.
So, I mean, I mean, we were able to cover kind of two topics there, in that whole thing. But I mean, I don't know. I mean,
plus you don't also have to pay for, you know, transportation and tickets.
it
just
is,
to
man.
get to the place.
It's fucking outrageously expensive.
Hotels, driving. You know, it's in San Diego, or where's it at? I don't.
Anaheim.
It's nowhere because COVID.
Anaheim
right.
Convention Center and
Well, it used to be, yeah. And you know how hard it is to travel around down there.
Oh,
Like,
I do
it's-
indeed.
It's ridiculous.
It sucks. It sucks.
Yeah.
The LA area sucks in general.
Yeah.
Back to how you brought this in, though, Sin. I think that this virus coming through, it's just like you were saying initially. It's kind of pushed the fast forward button on where the industry was already going with these kinds of meetings.
Well, I think not only just that, but like bringing this into a real world perspective, and outside of, you know, on the pre-patch podcast, we also talk about real world shit, right? And obviously we're not going to talk about medical things, but the one thing is like, to be 100% honest, man, like this is nature's way of saying, guys, either you fucking fix this shit or I'm gonna fucking do it for you. Like the reality of it is that, you know, whether you believe it or not, and whether you want to think that it's true or not, like you cannot deny the fact that emissions are down, right? Like pollution, our air quality is going up, you know, and water quality in the oceans and in places like Venice and over in Italy are down. Like it's just, this should be eye-opening in a lot of ways other than just the fucking gaming industry. Like it should be very eye-opening to see like, hey, you know, this is, we need to really think about our impact on the world that we live in.
We're able to see parts of the globe from satellites that we haven't been able to see in years because the pollution levels have dropped because of this. It's really crazy.
Right. And I
Yeah.
mean, and the only thing, and I know that this is again a very touchy subject, and we want to make sure that we stay within our guidelines here, but like it is infuriating to see people that just don't give an absolute shit, that are just like, fuck social distancing and fuck this, I'm gonna go do whatever the fuck I want. Well, you know what, dude? Then fucking shoot yourself into space and let's just be done with it, right? Go get yourself on some fucking dumb Riri island where you can be all by yourself, and you know, or have the rest of your dumb fucking spring break crew. Like, go over there and do that, but do not infect the rest of the world because you want to be an idiot. Like,
That's what I was talking about on Twitter today. Was it's like, you know, with that case, in that case, it's the spring breaker. They need to, you know, kind of center in the line and kind of figure out, hey, it's not me that I have to worry about. It's the other people around me that this is going to affect.
Right.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's the
selfish.
biggest problem is that they're not and they won't.
well, it's
ridiculous.
It's so funny about we live in a society that is the Me Too movement, right? We live in a society about I have to care about everybody else before I care about myself. But yet in the moment in time where this happens, and this is literally one of the times where you could be like, oh, I have to worry about not me getting sick, but the person that I'm going to be possibly coming in contact with and who they're affecting. There are people out there that are supposedly these great, you know, these people that are like, oh my God, you know, a social warrior. And they just are basically giving the finger to people and saying, fuck you, I don't really give a shit. Like, it just shows to me that like if there ever is a zombie outbreak, these people are fucked. Like there is nobody that's going to stop them from going to the beach like and getting their spring break on. So have fun drinking yourself into oblivion and getting the coronavirus. So yeah. Anyway, so this is gonna be another one of those things of like, how do we segue this conversation? But
you know, kind of derailed that.
Talking, yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of games that we've also played, you know, because we've all been quarantined. Hey, I pulled it off. Since we've all been quarantined, we've been playing kind of these different games. And I've been playing Warzone as well as Vagante, but I'm gonna let Scruffy and Bill kind of talk, you know, about the games that they've been playing, and obviously Enigma as well. Before I talk about Warzone.
Well, maybe Bill, would you want to start off with Sally Face? Because I know I'm very big into Sally Face too. Since I got you that.
Yeah. Thank you again for that gift, by the way.
Beyond fucking
to
weird.
start off quarantine. Scruffy gifted me Sally Face. It's a 5-part horror adventure side scroller type game. It's indie made, one single dude. I did some research on it today.
It's crazy,
to see what the team was. It's a single fucking guy, one dude, and it's from 2016 to 2016 to 2019.
It is, yeah.
He did 5 parts to a game, brought an entire story together, and it was actually one of the best indie games I've ever played. Like, the story is really, really good. It's fucked. It is not for the faint of heart. There are some really, really high tense, really emotional, sensitive moments. But with this kind of genre of game, I've played a lot of them in the past, especially last year during Halloween. They tend to really dwell on those like downer moments. Like they just punch it in, like the intro to the Joker movie. It's that level of sad. Like, how can this get any worse? Oh, it just got worse. Fuck.
Yeah.
This game didn't really do that. This game, it hits you with the punch and then lets you sit on it for like a minute or two, and then it brought you back into having fun again.
And it's all with the character development that it does that. Like,
exactly,
you love these characters. It gets you connect with them almost. Like it.
What's the premise behind this game?
Okay, so without getting into spoilers, because I know it's an old game. I know a lot of people haven't played it though, and I highly suggest that they do. It's about a dude that when he was a kid, him and his mom got assaulted by, I'm assuming they never really said who. It was a guy that was dressed up as a dog or whatnot, but his mom died. He got his face mutilated, and he has a mask that he wears from that. He calls it a prosthetic, but it's just
lizard
like
man, dude.
It's just a mask, but it's basically him growing up with the trauma of that. Him and his dad moving into an apartment complex, him meeting new people at the new place where they're living, and then slowly you unravel this giant like cult conspiracy that's taking place within the complex that they live in, within the high school that they go to, and his friends basically Scooby gang it up, R-rated style, trying to stop this cult from summoning a world ender, basically.
Is the main character is a dude?
It is a dude, yeah.
It is a dude with blue hair and pigtails.
And he goes by the name Sally Face because it was originally a name that he was bullied for, that he adapted to it and owns it pretty much.
And this is being told from, because I think, and again, I don't want to give away too much, but I also want the listeners to understand kind of what the game is so they know if they want to go back and go and play it. This is actually, you're being told from the perspective of Sally Face, but it's also, isn't it being, like, I think I saw a screen or while you were playing, like it's being told from like he's dialoguing his story, right?
It's him. So the story is being told, like the past stuff that happened is being told from him to a therapist and during his trial for murder. And while you play through the game, you figure out why he's on trial, while he's going to the therapist. And the first 4 chapters take place in that format, and then the last chapter moves back forward into the present day and concludes the story from that point.
I mean, it looked interesting, like when I watched it playing. I mean, it's not, again, for me personally, it doesn't, it's one of those games like I think I would enjoy watching like and experiencing.
That's how I felt exactly, and that's why I actually wanted Bill to play it for me. As selfish as that sounds, I'm like, I'm gonna buy you this game. You're gonna play it for me, and I'm gonna watch it because I want to watch it.
right.
Right?
And
Well,
he plays those
happy-
games so well, so I knew he would be like the perfect guy to play it.
Happy to do so. But yeah, it's really crazy how good and how, like Scruff was saying, the hard-hitting punch moments are all about the character development.
Mhm.
This dude did such a good job, like within. So the game took probably 9 hours total between all 5 of the parts, but it gives each of the main characters so much personality that whenever something happens in this world, you're in shock. You're like physically like reacting and upset about what's going on, or pumped whenever something awesome happens. There's a few segments at the end that are just like mind-blowing how cool they integrate systems that were in the past into the conclusion of it. It's just really good how it all came together. I highly recommend it if you're into more story narrative driven games, because there's not a lot of controls to it. It's moving, it's interacting with things, a lot of puzzles, but the story is the selling point, and boy is it a good story.
Yeah, I mean, I remember turning and seeing. I'm not gonna say what I saw, but it reminded me something out of 7. I was just like, this is just fucking disturbing. Like,
Yeah. there are those moments.
yeah,
Definitely.
It's interesting. I mean, again, those are the kind of things that I think, and you got this off of Humble Bundle, right? Scruff.
No, actually, I learned about it a couple years back, and I just kind of did more research and found out what it was.
It's like $2 on Steam.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like
It's
$3 on
$2
Steam, but the
Yeah.
season pass that includes all the episodes is like $11. So it's like
Oh, is it?
it's like close to a $15 game.
So
Yeah,
is
I
it
just
worth that?
remember
Is it
looking
worth
at
that price tag?
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
this-
generous for that kind of game.
this-
Honestly, like for the story that you get.
Is
The
he?
games that I played of that genre in the past, they tend to sit around the $15-$20 range.
Is
Yeah.
there a? Has he got other games? Does this person have other games that they've made?
This
Not sure.
was his first game. This is his first game he's taken. So he finished the last chapter mid 2019. He said he's taking the winter into spring to take a break because he burnt himself out. He was a one-man dude making every asset to a game.
Mhm.
Because he didn't have a budget. He said he just wanted to make a game. He had a vision for it, and he did it. He's taking a break. He's going to work on another project when he comes back, and then after that project, he said he's most likely going to come back and revisit the Sally Face world and probably do a like part 2 series.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
So he's probably
It's made
so.
by-
Oh, good.
I was gonna say it's made by Steve Gabry,
Yeah.
developed by Portable Moose. It looks like, and
Mhm.
that's the only game that this specific developer's made so far. So
So, which means that he's probably going to then come back, revisit it, making an action RPG game where he's going to have something called Classic Mode, and you don't have to
Yeah,
play the game,
add in all the story, add on all the story stuff that
Something
he
like
forgot to
that.
add in.
Yeah.
and then charge $60 for every
Right, it is
episodic
episodic too, so it's perfect.
It's perfect.
That's cool. I mean, again, it looked very interesting, and for like I said, a lot of our viewers do enjoy those story kind of driven games.
Yeah.
and so
It's definitely a game at first glance you get caught off guard, like what is this? But you really
Yeah.
start to like,
Strange art style, man.
Yeah.
That was
Well-
like, immediately when I was watching you play it, I was just like, "The fuck am I watching?"
yeah, yeah.
Some kind of
Dude,
Vincent
you
Van
think
Gogh
the base
shit.
art style is weird? The last chapter flips that on its head like
Yeah,
five
no,
does,
times.
dude.
I'm aware. Yeah, I
It was
watched
crazy.
It, yeah.
well, I mean, I
I
think that's just the thing too. Is like art. The art style of a game can really be a big draw of that, and it can almost be a character in its own right. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
games like Sally Face, games like Ori segment, and the Will o' the Wisp. The art style of those games are almost just as important to the game as the actual game itself. I mean,
Absolutely, and soundtracks.
oh god,
Mind you,
dude.
like,
yeah,
dude.
I don't know
Again
what.
with Ori.
Yeah, I don't.
Like,
I don't know how Sally's Face's soundtrack was, but
Dude, it was
It's
sweet.
headbanging.
yeah,
It's totally headbanging heavy shit. Like it's
Yeah.
awesome.
So the one that I tuned into last night was like some death metal fucking
Yeah.
playing.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
But I know in like Ori, yes, like Ori, there's very few games where I warrant buying the soundtrack of, and I buy the soundtrack to I have bought the soundtrack to both Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori Will o' the Wisp, because it is such an amazing soundtrack. You know, and if I mean, is it? I know originally, I know I said we were going to talk. Scruffy had talk about Hammerwatch, and we'll get to it. But are you okay if I talk about Ori?
Oh,
I mean,
no, talk about Ori. Yeah, I'm into it.
You know, so Ori and the Blind, or Ori and the Will of the Wisp. Don't worry, we'll get to Doom Eternal. Chat, we'll get to Doom Eternal. It's on the list. It's on the list. We have plenty of time, and none of us are going anywhere. We can't. COVID-19. I'm just kidding. COVID-19. Anyway, so Ori, there was Ori and the Blind Forest, which I really think a lot of people saw that game and were just blown away. I mean, the story, there's also very few games that actually hit me emotionally to make me like actually feel something and tear up. In that game, without having
without a single word from the characters,
right? Like without really anything. I mean, I think there's spoken word, but it's not in actual language. Like it's in a made up language that you don't understand and you just see, and it's very. I don't know. It's just a very visceral like experience, and like when I say, and I know a lot of people are saying like visceral is not the right word for it, but it really is like this. It hits you in such a emotional way to feel what these characters are going through just because of the soundtrack. Like, you know, and the artwork is there, but the soundtrack, man, to those games hit so hard. And the same thing in Ori and Will of the Wisp. Like the Will of the Wisp game, like, you know, without giving too much away, like obviously this happens out of the Blind Forest. You know, you have saved, you know, their homeland, their home area, and there is a owl that they are taking care of. Well, now this owl can't fly because it has a busted wing, and it's got like it grew up with like a messed up wing. Well, you're seeing it trying to fly, and it wants to experience the world because it's an owl, and you know, this like mother father figure and Ori are there trying to get it to understand like it's just a part of life. Well, they finally he is able to fly, and then all of a sudden like things go wrong, right? And they end up split up, and it's just this moment of like whether you have kids or not, or you have something that you care about, you know, animals or whatever it may be, fur babies, all of that kind of stuff. Like someone at some point in time has had a moment where you have been lost, and it brings back this like just emotional feel of like, oh fuck, like I know what it is to be out in a scary place, and I don't know where I'm at, and I don't know how I'm going to get back, and I don't know what's my surroundings are. I know nothing, and this is a dangerous world, and it all does it through the music. And it's just and I mean honestly, it's a platforming game, and it's fucking phenomenal. Like I would probably say as it stands right now, Ori and the Will of the Wisp deserves some kind of like Game of the Year award, whether it be for platformer, whether it be for soundtrack, artwork. It's just fucking amazing.
You're not the first person I've heard say that either.
Like it's just, and a lot of people I think are giving it shit because they're saying like, oh, it's just the same thing from, you know, a Blind Forest. But honest to God, like it doesn't need to be any different. Like that method, that style of gameplay, and what they did in this one, it was they opened up the world a little bit more. So in the first one, you weren't able to go to every single area kind of willy-nilly and like be able to go experience like this one spot. You had to wait until you got your abilities. They have that here where they do kind of like limit you in certain ways, but the reality of it is that I've been able to get to spots that I'm not supposed to be able to get to yet, but they don't stop me. It's not, I don't hit an invisible wall to be like, oh, you're not supposed to be here yet because you've not completed this part of the story. They've just kind of been like, you're going to get fucked over, but you could probably somehow find a way around it. Like, and, you know, and so it's a very interesting way of doing it. And just again, man, like it's, if you like platforming games, if you like roguelike games, if you like, you know, storyline games, this game just really does. And it's I guess not really roguelike. It's more Castlevania, I think or Metroidvania is the proper term. If you like Metroidvania style games, this is a game that you should absolutely invest the money in. It's on Steam. It's $40. It's worth every fucking penny. And I think the soundtrack is an additional 20. It's worth everything, like every fucking thing about it.
I got one question about it. How does because it's all about the gameplay and stuff, how does the new combat system feel compared to the OG? Because I liked how simple like just the sprite shooting the laser beams out in the first one was, because it really prioritized the platforming itself. It made that the centerpiece of the game. Does the new combat system kind of take away from that, or do you think
No. So actually, I think that it adds a lot more. So the way that the combat system works in this one is you get to pick 3 spells that you can use. So and I can't remember the first one. I don't think you had that option. I think it was just your sprite, and you gained abilities and things like that. But I don't think that you had like a physical, like you couldn't choose different styles of attacks. And in this one, you have different ways. Like you can choose to heal. You have one that like shoots out a spirit arrow. You have one that does like a hammer. You can have one that has a sprite that will attack for you. So there, you can choose these different play styles, which is really unique. I've found that realistically, there's ones that you have to use like the spirit arrow to traverse some of the level, because you have to have it to hit like different things to cause a platform to come down or whatever else. But I'm learning new things about abilities. Like yesterday or 2 days ago, I learned like you could take the hammer, and if you swing this hammer, which is a powerful attack, as you hit a launch pad, it actually gives you momentum going upward of kind of like a tornado. So it will air boost you up even higher. So you're able to get to spots. Whether it's naturally supposed to do that or not, it's still a quirk in the game that I found that was, beneficial. The other cool thing about it too is that, unlike in the first one, because you were limited by the attack that you had, you couldn't really use the enemies in a way to get to traverse and platform into different spots. Whereas this one, because there are these unique abilities. So like when I use the hammer and hit somebody, they will launch themselves up higher. They'll launch themselves in the air, which then I can then jump up, air dash, and then use them to basically kind of, I forgot what it's called, but it's like a spirit jump off of them. So which then allows me to double jump and air dash again, right? So the traversing of it, because there are different styles of attacks, really opens this game up even more.
Okay. That was my only question, because I've watched like 2 or 3 streams and everybody's just using the same stuff that I saw you using, which was the double swords and then the hammer. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've not played with the other ones too much. I mean, I'm still early on in the game for the most part, but
and that might be why everybody's
well, I mean, I think the game does lend itself a little bit more to wanting to be kind of in that melee style. But there's an upgrade system, and you really can choose the way you play. Like they can go in there and say like, I want to be like, this attack will cause fire damage, right? And so the person will stay on fire more, or this type of attack will then, there's one that I think will actually duplicate one attack will reverse your health and your magic, which is interesting. So, and I think what it does is it partners up with an ability that, based on how many ticks off of your health you have, it does more damage. So basically you would go in, use your magic, reverse your health and magic, and then use this attack to do like a big damage spell. So it's just interesting. Like it opens it up to be able to play different styles.
Cool.
For sure. So, again, I think that it really is a great game. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's made by Microsoft. You can find it on Steam. You can find it on the Xbox Store. I definitely recommend playing it. Obviously, I'm a fan of these kind of platforming style games. And again, just from a soundtrack perspective, it's a fucking beautiful soundtrack in game. But another game that actually allows you to have multiple different play styles is Heroes of Hammer Watch. Hammers of Over Hero Watch. So Scruffy and Enigma really have kind of dived into this pretty heavily, right? I mean, you guys have been modding it and playing some stuff into
we haven't played it too terribly much.
Yeah, just a little bit.
We played a little bit on the modded the other day, but it's definitely one of those games that I enjoy playing for sure.
Oh yeah.
You want to take it off, Scruff?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's definitely kind of a hidden gem right now with it's an action roguelike 2D top-down style. You have actually, I think it's got a really cool progression system, because the main basis is, you go into these cave systems, which are your levels. You're pretty much your levels throughout, and you go progress through them, and you find what you need to find is ore, and that's what you need to kind of use to progress in your main hub town area, because the ore you find is what you use to unlock stuff like say a blacksmith that allows you to get minor stat upgrades that are permanent. You can unlock an herbalist that will give you a flask to actually heal once you're inside of the levels. And then of course you can use that to upgrade your town and get your like more level, or I'm saying more skills and stuff for your character. And it's not easy. Like it's really hard. Would you say?
Extremely difficult.
It's a hard game.
The most fun that I have with it is just the simple fact that it's and I was surprised when we first started playing it, because like you mentioned something the other day when you were playing the I think it was the Artificer, right, or the Astrologium, I can't remember which.
Yeah,
I think it was the Astrologium.
Yeah,
but one of the modded classes that we put in had an ability called Blink, and Scruffy was like, "The fuck is this Blink shit? I can't figure it out." And I'm like, "Well, Blink allows you to teleport 10 feet away from you." And he was like, "How the fuck did you know that?" And I'm like, "Because I know D&D." The entire game is based off of a D&D class. Blink is a D&D ability for sorcerers and magic users of sorts, right? And he's like, "How the fuck did you know that?" And I'm like, I know D&D. I'm a fucking nerd.
Yeah.
But it's extremely fucking difficult, man. Like there was countless runs that me and Scruffy did that were, it was just like literally we loaded in and got completely raffle stomped by like an entire like horde of enemies.
it can be really overwhelming, and the boss fights too are not easy.
Yeah,
They're tough.
The boss fights are extremely interesting. There's mechanics behind them. There's certain things that you have to do in order to to mitigate your damage from them and stuff. It's a very fun game. It's and you put it best when you said it earlier. It's kind of like a diamond in the rough, or like a silver, because like I've never heard of it, but apparently it's been out since like 2018.
And the first one was like 2013. There was an original Hammerwatch that came out in 2013, and that was like kind of what started Heroes of Hammerwatch.
I looked up the dev, and the only game that might be mainstream is they did the most recent Serious Sam game, but that was forever ago still.
That's a completely different style too. Like
yeah. My question is, so is it like standard roguelike progression where you go into these dungeons, you gather things, and that banks you like towards progressing in your main hub area? But like, is there a within the dungeon progression for your character?
Yes.
So basically you make a character at the start, right? I would say it's more of a roguelite than a roguelike, because you keep all progress that you have with your character. It's not like when your character dies you have to restart completely from the start. So there's a progression system for your actual character. There's levels for your character. You can skill up with your character and get different abilities and such. But whenever you die, there's certain sections of the map that you have to kind of like send everything that you've gathered back up to your town, and if you don't do that, then you lose all progress that you've made. And there was multiple times that me and Scruffy did that. Just like, fuck, we just had like 7 ore. Why didn't we send that shit out?
So I mean, and the way that they roguelike it is the items that you have is the stuff that you restart with. So as you progress through these dungeons and you continuously get things, like you're getting items that you're equipping,
like rings of protection,
right?
Like cowls of fast moving, so stuff like that. And if you die with it on you, it doesn't come with you. In the next one,
that's the stuff that gets deleted pretty much.
Right. So, but your character itself is sustainable throughout. So you're constantly leveling your character up. So and that's an interesting point, because a lot of roguelikes don't do that. Like it's more the opposite way, where like you're leveling up these items, or like Dead Cells, you're unlocking the items and then you're playing through to get those items back. And this, your items are always starting at the same exact shit. It's your spells and your upgrades that you do to like your keep and your character that makes it different. And it has a very like Diablo style feel too, just because of the like your character itself upgrades. In that sense, very like hardcore mode kind of, if you were to really kind of look at it. So it's a really good. I mean, it's just good. Like it's in again. It's difficult as fuck. Like it is just
extremely
brutally difficult.
It is hard.
I can't explain to you how hard it is, but there was multiple times where it was just like with all three of us as well. Like when me and Scruffy were playing, there was multiple times where we would just get overrun.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do at that point. Like the resurrection system works in a way that like
It's
you
so
soul
cool.
link,
Yeah.
you soul link to your dead allies, and basically that means that if they die after you've rezzed them, you die. So and
Okay.
you kind of have to like you kind of
You're
have to balance
soulbound
that,
at that
yeah.
point.
Right.
Because there was multiple times where like I would die and then the entire party would die because
We were all soul linked. Yeah.
Yeah, Sin was
Yeah,
off
and
somewhere
Scruffy
else
had
and
to
he
fucking
dies.
do
I'm like,
that.
wait, why did I just die? Oh, Sin died. I was
Yeah.
soul linked to him.
Yeah.
So it's definitely one of those things where it's like fuck.
And
man,
the
this
puzzles,
is difficult.
the puzzles that are in it, like the traversing platforming side of things,
Mhm.
is fucking difficult. Like we're
Yeah.
talking like pixel precision of having to make sure that your character is like right at the edge of where he's going to get hit, and then you have to move like to make sure it works. Like it's just a brilliantly done game. I mean, again, it's
Yeah.
simple. It's like all of these games that we're talking about. It's, you know, especially like right now, we're like, yeah, we're about to get into the season of, you know, you're going to have Final Fantasy, you've got Doom Eternal, you know, you've got these big games that are coming. But these are the games that people I really wish would be looking for. And I kind of found this through Deep Dive. Like the Steam Deep Dive thing is actually a very useful tool to find common gems that are out there. But it's just, yeah, it's a fun little fucking game.
Yeah.
You know, along with we pronounce it as Vajayjay, but you know, it's called Vagante, like, or it's spelled V-A-G-A, yeah.
Vagante something, yeah.
Vagante. And actually one of our viewers turned us on to this, Great and Cheese, turned us on to this game. It's another 2D game, but that game is it's a roguelike.
And it doesn't hold your hand.
Fuck.
at all.
It looks very similar to Heroes of Hammerwatch as well. Like with the
Yeah.
gameplay,
Kinda.
it's just a little bit more polished.
You
I
have similar
think.
aspects, yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
find your items and stuff.
I think
and-
Scruffy nailed it on the head when he's like, it's like a Spelunky, but like a
Yeah.
Spelunky meets, in my mind, it's kind of like a Spelunky meets Dead Cells, or actually,
Yeah.
realistically, I think Spelunky meets Rogue Legacy, because in Rogue Legacy it's the very same style of this idea that you are building up an area and you're unlocking abilities that are like your character can use, or unlocking like traits that your character can attach. But you're still starting in this very randomly generated dungeon kind of thing, and fuck me, man, it's fucking brutal in a different way. Like in Heroes of Hammerwatch, that game is brutal because of like just the hordes and the puzzles. This game is brutal because it's just like, if you make the wrong step, you're gonna fall down a hole and fucking die. If you
It's fucking unforgiving. There's spikes in the game that instantly kill you.
Yep.
You can step in a trap that a boulder falls in your head, you're done. I mean, you can get stuff to like you can get lucky and get like items that can prevent that. But I mean, you know, there's so many other countless things that'll kill you pretty much.
And there is, and there's also stuff that's really cool that kind of breaks the fucking game, but they allow it. Like there's this. So I had this one run. I had like I had phase walking boots and phase shifting
wall
gloves
phasing and
and floor phasing. So I was able to literally phase through the entire level. To get wherever the fuck I wanted to go, but I could only do it for 7 seconds. And I've done this before on my own. If you phase shift out of the 7 seconds, you're stuck in the wall and you're dead. Like,
I was about to say, do you get killed if you?
no,
if you
they don't
get
kill
it?
you. They don't kill you. You're stuck. Like,
you're stuck there.
Because
that one time we-
the fucking that
we
one
had the
run. Oh my god.
Where we got pretty far and we were about to go up against the boss or whatever, and Sin has this bright idea to destroy this like obelisk or this like cauldron that you can throw items into to recycle them and get new items. But if we find out we can destroy them, so we're like, all right, why not? Let's try to destroy this, see if it gives us anything. We destroy it. It digs me into a hole that I'm just stuck in. I can't get out. I can't jump out or anything. I'm stuck there, and Sin's alone fighting this boss up here. And when he dies, I mean,
that's
the
it.
boss comes after me, and then I actually kill the boss. But that's it. I mean, I'm stuck.
He can't go anywhere.
hole.
You can't get to the
finish
exit
level. I'm
door.
just
Yeah.
stuck.
So it actually is a very, very unique style of experience. It does lend itself to be played with a group of people, at least one other person. It is very, very brutal. The controls suck. If you're not playing on a controller,
Yeah.
the controls fucking blow.
You kind of get used to them, but they're not the easiest
Yeah.
controls. There's not much key mapping you can do. It's pretty down to like just WASD or whatever you want to play it with,
Right. Like
and just a few other keys to attack and jump and
right.
stuff.
That is my one complaint of the game is the control scheme, but you get
Yeah.
used to it and understand it.
Yeah, it almost kind of also makes the game though because it makes it more challenging.
Oh yeah, I mean playing the
Not
Ranger.
having those limited controls, it makes it a challenge
Yep.
in itself.
Taking the old school Dark Souls approach to gaming. Oh yeah, let's make
Yeah.
the game like control like shit so it's hard.
Yeah,
Fuck difficulty. We'll just make it so you can't fucking actually use
Another-
the controls.
really cool thing I like about it is I still play the game and I still find new stuff
Oh, yeah.
every time that I don't even know because they don't tell you jack. They just let you pretty much just figure it out on your own. And
Love
that's
it.
one thing I love about that kind of game or those styles of games because I don't like my hand being held. I want to like when I figure something out, it's like ding, like whoa, I just did something and now I know like I can do that. Like,
yeah,
it's
like
sweet.
we had this character that was this girl that was locked up in a cage that
Yeah.
we would find, and if she gets hit too many times, she dies. And obviously, when I realized that when I was like, I can't do anything with this stupid bitch. I'm just gonna.
Mhm.
I'm tired of her talking. I'm just gonna. I mean, I'm not a psychopath. I swear to God. I'm just gonna murder her because I'm tired. I just don't want to see that. I don't want to hear that. Like,
They're not a
yeah.
psychopath.
Like,
But then we figured out you can pick things up.
right. And
Like-
so they figured out you could pick her up and then take her back
Mhm.
to like I think
The next
like,
level,
yeah,
which in between every level there's like a
Campsite,
bonfire that
yep.
heals you, Dark Souls-ish again. And we figured out if you take her into that level where you heal yourself at the bonfire, and you sit at the bonfire with her, she'll full heal you. Actually, she doesn't always appear, so it's like a once in a couple of levels times. Like she can spawn, and if she dies, there's nothing. But if you get her in there, you'll pretty much have a full heal.
yeah. And so it's just and when you die, you get to come back as a skeleton.
Oh,
You're a skeleton warrior, and then but
Skeleton, you say?
yeah, yes, skeleton. And then you don't get to pick up any or you can't use any items. You can pick items up, but you can't use them.
Yeah,
And then
you just bone everything. Right? I mean, throw bones at everything.
yeah. And then when you go to that level with the bonfire, your buddy picks them up. But even then, it's still not like, oh, hey, we're gonna make it okay. Like you can just pick your character up and you're good. No, you take damage. So like
Mhm.
when you pick up your character, your corpse explodes and
Yeah.
you come back out of the ground and you are now, you're taking damage for that. Like
You're at 1 HP from getting res, and your friend minuses 20 HP.
Yeah.
So
and then on top of that, like there's like everything in the game is unidentified.
Mhm.
Everything. So you drink a potion, it could be like, well, now you're poisoned and now you're going to take
Yeah.
poison damage. And you're like, what the fuck? Or you might get something that's like, hey, it's going to raise your vitality by 5, but your strength goes down by 9. It's
or
just-
there's a potion that gives you 1 super high jump.
yeah. Like, so it's a very,
Wait, a singular jump? Like
A singular super high jump, and there was a level where there was no ceiling. I jump super high, I fall back down, and I take 30 damage.
I was about to say, is there fall damage? Is this a troll?
Yes,
of the
yeah,
old
yeah.
world?
Yes, it
Major
is.
fall damage, yes.
so
funny.
it's just like, I don't know. It's a very, very good, well thought out gym. And again, I think
Yeah.
that the title of this fucking show should be like, spend your times in quarantine looking for gyms in the depths
And
of shit of Steam.
Both of these games are under $15.
Yes.
Heroes of Hammerwatch minus with the base game without the DLC is $12, I think.
I was gonna say, here's
Vaganti is 15.
is fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like buying everything, I think it's like a $60
No.
game or some shit.
No, it's like 30.
It's 30
I thought.
bucks.
Not even.
Is it?
I think it's 20. I think it's
Okay.
20. I think it's 26 with everything.
I guess.
Yeah.
I think I was thinking of something else, but yeah, I was looking at it the other day and I was like, that's a lot of fucking DLC. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's $15.95 or $97 for all the DLC.
Interesting.
hmm
Indie corner time.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's
There's a lot of good
I mean,
gems out there.
I've been going down the indie route a lot more as of late, just because of my dissatisfaction with AAA video game titles
yeah.
these days. Like you will say what you want about indie titles, like there's some weird ones out there, obviously, but,
they could be the best ones.
but
So.
they can't be the better ones. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even to talk about, There's two games that I do want to talk about before, we either segment off something else or go into, look at ending the show. I think we have one or two more topics, but there are two things. One is just talking about these big AAA games, and one is coming out here soon, and one I'm playing currently with being Warzone. But I want to talk about Doom Eternal for just a second, right? Or a couple minutes. So I have not been able to, and I guess I preface all of this by saying I have not been able to play this game yet, right? So this is coming from a place of watching about 9.5 hours worth of streams, right? So take it with a grain of salt if you want. If you trust my opinion, then go that route. But I am actually very disappointed in Doom Eternal. Because from what I have seen, if you talk Doom, right, there's a very specific play style that Doom is known for. And even unlike the Final Fantasy, and obviously, yes, I'm the old man of the fucking podcast. Like, I don't like change. Don't change my shit. Like, Doom is one of these things where it's like, it's a shooter.
Changing your diapers soon enough.
Okay, whatever. The Doom, like, has a very specific play style. They have somehow monkey wrenched platforming into this, into a way that it's almost more about the platforming than it is the gunplay, and like that fast action, fast paced, visceral, in your face, just like
what kind of like Borderlands platforming they had in their games?
No,
the 3 now.
This is like legit, like you're jumping onto a fucking
platforming.
Yeah, like
Oh,
like
really?
you're jumping
Like
onto
wall
a
climbing.
Yeah, you're jumping onto a wall, you're air dashing, you're doing double jumps, like it's I don't know. And watching, like I watched Carnage play it. I was watching who else was I was watching play it? I spent a majority of my time watching Carnage play it because he's just like his streams are very informative when it comes to new games. It like you can even look at the map designs and it's just a very like vertical kind of style of design. And then your interactions with these characters, like if you remember the original Doom, and when I say let me say Doom 2016, because that's what I mean by original Doom, because that's what this is coming off of. Doom 2016 was very much of like these death arenas. It was just you get locked into a room and you better fucking survive. And I don't know if any of you guys played it. Did any of you guys play the Doom 2016?
No, I never played the original one.
I'm not the hugest fan of the Doom formula to begin with, so
Yeah.
Enigma, did you play it?
The one previous to this, no.
Okay. So in that, it was like it was very much about how good can the game look and how fast can we fucking make combat,
Yeah.
right? This slows
And how gory, like it has to be. It has to be a staple of gore, for,
right?
for Doom to begin with.
And it was difficult. Like the game was fucking hard. This is not that. This is like slower paced. You now have weapon unlocks that are like more about like precision aiming, and like two of the weapons, like the rocket launcher is like getting a triple kill with one shot. So what that means is that to accomplish this, you have to use this ability where you freeze an entire area and then you shoot in that area to blow up multiple enemies. So again, it slows it down. And then when you're talking about another one where it is this gun where you shoot a grenade launcher, but you have to lob it into the certain enemies, like, I mean, realistically, it's its fucking butthole, but you launch it into its butthole, which this butthole is attached to this arm that is a very small thing. And the only way of doing that is to slow down time to aim it precisely in there so then it blows up. Like all of those things just make it so it is a very slower experience. And again, like I said, and then you're adding this platforming aspect to it. And it sounds like, Bill, like you've watched some videos of it.
I have.
Yeah. And it's just, the platforming is just weird.
Yeah, from what I've seen, and like I said, I didn't play the 2016. I appreciate it for what it is, but arcadey, like Quake style shooting isn't something I've ever been the biggest fan of.
Yeah.
And that's the closest thing I can compare 2016 Doom to is Quake. But from what I've seen, it lost me whenever I saw Doom guy do the tracer dashing.
Yeah.
No, jeez.
No, you're right. Like,
it's legit the Tracer's double dash in
Wow.
Overwatch. you're right. It doesn't feel like a Doom game. I understand what they're going for, and some people are gonna like that. I didn't get the feeling of slowing down like what you're saying. Maybe the play style of the person I was watching was a little different, but it's definitely more about those precision shots. Especially they incentivize that by certain enemies having like, okay, so you know the guys with the double rockets on their shoulder, like the main staple Doom enemy, right?
Right.
You can actually shoot those off to make that enemy like easier to combat.
Yeah. So
and every enemy
it's-
has like weak
it's a weak spot,
spots.
yeah. Sure.
It sounds cool, like what they're trying to do with it, but it doesn't sound like it's what Doom is. That's
again,
pretty much what
again,
it is.
if you like, for you, like you've never experienced it, so going and
Right.
playing it, it may be something that you kind of enjoy and are like, oh, this is fucking
Yeah.
cool, right? And but when for someone
If
that
if I went back to play the previous ones, then I'd be like, I'd be surprised that it's not what I'm
well,
getting. or
especially
from
if
the new
you
one.
for someone that has played original Doom, right?
Yeah.
You know, and Enigma, did you play the original Doom?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
I
right.
played the original Dooms, the previous one from 2006.
Yeah,
What-
you're talking about Doom. You're talking about the one that was on the Xbox.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The one that came out that was those really nice graphics after the previous
Yeah, I
ports.
think it was
But,
Doom
no,
3.
I haven't played any of the newest ones just because again what we're explaining right now, they don't feel like Doom.
Like-
it doesn't feel like Doom.
Doom 2016 absolutely feels great. Like that feels very much of an homage to the original old
Does
school
it?
Dooms. Yes,
Yeah,
because
I haven't watched it,
it-
so I wouldn't know. But
it's just it's fast paced, it's visceral, it's just like gore and you know, trying to survive in this like heart beating moment, but they make you feel like a badass, like with these special like melee attacks that you can do and things like that. This game, like Bill has hit on, like you have these tracer abilities, and then you have this like fucking scorpion, you know, thing where you can like lob yourself, you know, you scorpion into an enemy and or bring them to you or whatever else. Like it's just weird, and it I don't know. Like I felt like, you know, when we got Doom Eternal, I was like, okay, cool. It's either going to be an MMO, because Eternal usually means like forever, like in whatever. It's going to be an open world, but it's not. Or we're going to get Doom 2, and it was, you know, this thing where we're going to get what Doom 2 was, and it's not. Like I'm all for you changing the genre and style, but like this is a complete fucking shift over to like this platforming style of gameplay, which I don't understand, because that's never been in Doom's DNA. Like at least for Final Fantasy 15, you know, 13, 12, 11, they were all this style of game, right? This is not. Like this is just like completely out of left field. So
I've heard there's supposed to be some Doom like battle mode too, where it like
Yes.
puts you in with two other people. Like you're a Doom guy, and then there's two other guys
So-
who are playing the monsters that are trying to go for you, right?
So there is a I forgot the name of what they call it, but
demon mode. or
yeah.
whatever.
So there's a mode that is a la Dark Souls, in the style that you invade as a Doom character, as the actual Doom, another Doom guy,
Oh, okay.
right? Where you are basically, at this point, it becomes PvPvE. Really cool concept. I mean, I like that idea, right? It's an interesting kind of thing. Then there is one that to me that is a little bit more interesting, which is where you embody a Doom villain or Doom character
Monster, whatever, yeah.
right? So you don't know who you're going to be. You invade, and you are now, you know, you may be the rocket launcher guy. You may be the fucking baby. Like you may be, you know, the big floating ball Doom, you know, thing, you know, whatever else.
Is that still invading, or is that a whole nother separate like just game mode?
I can't,
Do you know?
I can't speak to that. Yeah. Cause I don't know.
Okay.
I've seen highlights of what that is.
Okay. Yeah.
But, there's that. And then there's a full blown multiplayer mode, which I played Doom 16's multiplayer mode. It's, yes, I think it was Doom 16's multiplayer mode. It sucked. I'm pretty sure it was Doom that had that multiplayer mode. In fact, I'm almost 100% sure. In fact, I know it was Doom that had that multiplayer mode. It sucked. This also sucks. Like, it's just shit. Like, it's just a crappy version of it. I've watched enough videos of it to realize it's just a really shitty thing to be like, hey, we have multiplayer. Like, hey, we're here. Like, here you go. It's deathmatch. Go have fun. Like, it just sucks.
Is it similar to Quake in any way, or is it just not?
Yeah, like if Quake was made by like a really bad port, like
Yeah.
it's like a bad port of a bad port.
Gotcha.
So it's just, if you're going into it new, great, you may like it because you've never played Doom 2016. Don't go play Doom 2016 and then come to this, because I don't think that you're going to have as much fun. My recommendation would be go play the old Doom, or wait for this one to drop in price, because it's not really worth $60 in my mind.
I would tell you go play the old Doom regardless.
Yeah.
You played it
Yeah.
before, but
Yeah.
My chat's saying it reminds them more of the Rage 2 or the old game Bulletstorm. Do you guys remember that shooter?
Yeah, I think
Then it does an actual Doom game.
I think Bulletstorm is a very good analogy of it, because of like the ways that you can kill someone, like with the visceral kills and things of that nature. But I even would say that it's probably still slower paced than Bulletstorm.
Yeah, good.
No, go.
From what I've seen, it just seems like they're trying to take way too many things and put them into something that wasn't broken to begin with. Like, they're adding way too many complexities, because from what I've seen, there's a new resource. There's an armor resource now. You have the weak spots to micromanage. You have the platforming to micromanage. You still have to do your executions. It's just way too much to deal with in what is supposed to be, at its core, a simple bloodbath shooter.
Yeah, I mean, and so people in my chat are kind of saying like, so a nice dog 97 said, I mean, the game is nothing like the previous ones and is, in my opinion, making old fans not enjoy and pushing it away. And then a follow-up, by Chicken Boy just commented saying that old people are hard to please. It's not that we're, it's not
Nice.
that we're hard to please. It's that, just like my gripe in the very beginning of the show when we were talking about Final Fantasy, when you are using a namesake that is Doom, when you're using a namesake that is Final Fantasy, you are putting yourself into a place where you are expected to hit certain benchmarks. And at least certain things need to feel the same. And when you fuck with the core of feeling of that, then you start to lose not only the base fans of it, but you start to lose what that game is. Like, this game is not Doom Eternal. The only thing that is tied to Doom are the enemies that are in it and Doom Guy. That's it.
Well, especially Doom. Like you start fucking with like Doom. Doom is one of those franchises. It's like Quake. Like Quake tried to do their new Quake Arena that they released like a couple of years ago, and it failed miserably for a very specific reason. It did not capture the old feel of Quake.
Right.
The same thing with Doom. If you're trying to gather that kind of forward momentum where you're gonna release it under the name of Doom, you're trying to get the old players for Doom to come in and play it. If it's nothing like what they're used to, you're gonna fail miserably again.
Yeah.
Obviously, because it's a very niche group.
Right.
It's
It
very
was
niche
doomed.
player base.
I would say it's even more niche than like Final Fantasy or whatever else.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
don't
Mhm.
you don't fuck
You
with
don't,
Doom.
you don't fuck with Doom, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's the same thing with Quake. Like you don't fuck with Quake, and they found that out.
Tell that to
pretty
Dwayne the
fucking
Rock
quick.
Johnson.
Mhm.
Yeah, but even
Unpopular opinion, I thought that movie was
I don't think it was
a
bad.
lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't think it was
thought
that
a fun
bad.
movie.
like, I don't think it was that bad. Like, I think for a movie game, it's better than some of the Resident Evil ones that's out there. Like,
Wait,
Yo,
for
I
which
like
movie
the
is that?
Resident Evil movies too.
Doom, trust me, I own them
I'm
all.
a sucker for bad video game movies.
I own every single Resident Evil. Like, I own all of them on digital and have watched them multiple times. They're a guilty pleasure of mine. But I'm saying, the Doom movie is
Mario
better
Brothers
than.
2.
Oh yeah.
Who's that starring?
God bless, bro. That movie was
The Mario Brothers.
the
movie?
Mario Brothers movie
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
fucking
Oh,
rough,
jeez.
bro.
That was
That's a
pretty-
rough one to like.
Leguizamo And,
That was like the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That one, oh.
It was a rough one to like.
Yeah, I want to see a Mario movie with Jack Black as Mario. That would be something
God.
I'd watch.
Oh my god.
Please.
But
Bob Hoskins, that's what it was.
I guess the lesson here is to all developers: stop taking namesakes and
Don't
fucking
fuck
them
with
up.
old franchises.
Just leave 'em alone, man. Like, leave 'em alone.
Like you can remaster them, you can remake them. Just fucking stay in the lane though. Like
Yeah.
if you're You know,
It-
don't take drastic measures.
I mean, it's like taking a Need for Speed game and trying to shove a single player. Oh wait, they did that. That's right. That's good.
Can I make a small side caveat, like a 5-minute conversation, real quick?
No, you can't.
Absolutely
Fuck.
not.
God damn it.
I mean, you can. I'm just gonna mute. I'm just gonna mute you, so it's okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So we talked about Doom. We talked about Final Fantasy VII. Do you think the Resident Evil remakes are doing that line better?
Yes. So they're taking. Okay. Yes.
It's a small aside.
No.
You don't have to get into
No,
detail with
It's,
it, but
the only thing I'm gonna say, the only other issue that I would have is that if they in fact make in Resident Evil 3 where Nemesis can fuck you in a safe room, that's a problem. Like, don't do that. That's a really bad idea. Don't do that.
I think that's a scripted. Fuck you. I think that's not like
Well, because
the AI itself,
the
or
last I heard, it was something that was just possible that Nemesis was gonna just can basically come into a safe room and screw you up.
I hope they do that as a scripted event or something like, hey, somebody went into a safe room, sat their controller down for 20 minutes to go bake a fucking pie or something, and came back and Nemesis is standing over them just because they were sitting in a safe room for so long.
Maybe
like, as a preventative measure for that.
It just depends on how that affects the game going forward. Like, is that safe room now off limits? You know what I mean? Like, how is that affecting? Because from what I've heard, it destroys the safe room. So if that's the case, like, you are now no longer to be able to access that safe room, which I get from a world perspective of like zombie apocalypse. If this big ass monster blows the fucking thing up, I'm not gonna be able to go back there now anyway. But you know,
Right.
from an old,
But it's not a staple of Resident Evils.
right.
Yeah, maybe it's like an added difficulty.
So
That could be something.
to answer your question though, I think that the new Resident Evil remakes are doing justice to it. They're tweaking small things, very, very, very minor things, right? But it's
Yeah.
still holding true to what that
Staying
game
in
is.
their
But
lane.
Sinan, you can move while shooting. What is that?
Free.
There's only a couple things I missed, but I don't think they could have even really done. Was just like, well, first of all, the camera angles, obviously, but I
Yeah.
mean, they did have to update the camera angles for this new game. It just makes sense.
So people that bitch
But
about
also
camera,
the-
go ahead.
Also, the doors. One of my favorite things with Resident Evil 2 and the old Resident Evils is going through door and not knowing what's going to happen if I go through this door. It's just faced with black, and then sometimes a zombie would pop out or something. I feel like they might have been able to do that a little bit better. I don't know how. Maybe make the rooms darker and going in or something. I don't know. It's tough to translate that to a newer gen game, but that was so cool back then.
Well, the issue with all of that is that those were limitations of the console themselves, and like
Right.
True, and-
the not moving part was because it was too taxing on the game to be able to have to render you moving, you shooting, and rendering what's going on around you. It just couldn't do it. So,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that aspect of it, if they
Plus,
brought
tank,
that.
we can all agree tank controls are garbage
Yeah,
anyway.
if
so.
they brought
Yeah.
that back, I don't even know if I would be like, this is fucking good. This is great. Like, yeah, it's nostalgic. I would be like, this is fucking dumb. The camera angle part of it, I understand it. I mean, I think that the camera angle part of it is one of those. Again, it becomes just like the music and things. Like it is almost a character in itself. You're like, how is the camera gonna fuck me today? Like how am I gonna
You're capturing just their feet. You're just
Right.
going by.
right?
Like,
You know, so it was one of those moments where you do realize that that like. Because I've had it happen. Like Resident Evil Code Veronica is one of my favorite games of all time as well. Like it was one of my favorite Resident Evil games, and I remember very distinctly, like on one of them in the missions where you fight. I think it was the plant. It's like a morphed plant inside the laboratory. You end up going around, and you have to run around in a square kind of formation. The issue is that when you would go to cut the corner, your directions would flip. So I cut the corner to go to the right, and if I'm pressing right to continue, it'd be like, nope, now you're going left.
yeah.
So it's just like, like how do I incorporate that back into a current existing game and not piss people off? I don't know.
You don't.
Yeah, everyone gets pissed off nowadays with stuff like that.
Yeah, like the slightest camera angle not being right.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can incorporate that. The going into a room and not knowing, like that load screen, I think that you could have. I think you could have that like fade to black, come back to black.
I think something like that could be there, but you know, it is dated almost. But
I don't know.
I
I mean,
feel like it'd be cool.
yeah, I mean, I
Honestly,
think
just do
I
something
think
like
that the way that they do that now though is like they pressure you because like in Resident Evil 2's remake they had I forgot, I don't know what the thing's name was that was following you, but they had
Mr. X?
yeah.
Yeah. That
Uh,
was Max.
trench coat dude following you constantly, so it forced you to have to like run, and you were obviously kind of in those same situations where like shit's jumping out, stuff's happening because you're having to get away from this dude. I only watched people play Resident Evil 2. I didn't play it myself. Bill, did you play? You played it, right? Or no? Oh, so it did Mr. X give you a feeling of like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, or was it more of just kind of like, I just gotta
Initially.
yeah.
And yeah, I was gonna say I played just a little bit. At first, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and once you get used to him, it's just the way his AI is, and I have a feeling Nemesis is going to be fairly similar in that aspect, where once you realize exactly what this enemy can do, you are able to better plan out routes around him.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, and Nemesis, you know, with Resident Evil 2, Mr. X was never, I don't remember him ever being a character in the original. Like that was something new, right?
No, that was new.
You know, Nemesis,
I mean, I don't know if they might have talked about him, but I don't think he was ever in the original.
I don't remember him ever
Resident
seeing
Evil
him
2.
in the original, but like Nemesis is a very, again, we go into this of like, you're using Nemesis. It's a very tried and true character. Like he has got a
Don't fuck
very,
it up.
he's got a very distinct thing. Like, you know, so I want to make sure like don't fuck with Nemesis. You know what I mean? Like it's just don't do that. Like, and we also know that Capcom has a very bad history of either doing something really great or just fucking it into the ground. Like, does anybody remember?
Remove my damn mods?
Does anybody remember Resident Evil Raccoon City? Anybody,
God.
does anybody remember that game?
Yeah.
The multiplayer concept behind that game, like the PvP element, like game, yeah, completely fucked. Like so they don't give a shit. They'll fuck their game right into the ground. So, but
Resident Evil is one of those franchises I almost would wish would get sold to a different dev sometimes because of the side projects that they do.
yeah, as long as it's not Konami.
Yeah.
Please, God.
Like I don't want to
They
see
have some weird shit though with that. There's a tofu mode in the second one where you play as tofu.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
those are all, you know,
They're gimmicks.
Yeah.
They're little, but
but
Konami would make it a hell.
I don't
worse.
fucking want to see a Resident Evil Survive game where I'm poking something with a punji stick through a fucking you know, fence. Like
You don't want to be a UPS man in the Resident Evil.
God, no.
Right.
So the last thing that game that I have played is Warzone. And I know that everybody on this panel absolutely loves BRs, you know, and
Can't get enough of it.
is a huge
BRs,
fan
please,
of it.
give me more.
What I'll tell you, like, is that it's a very, very, very well done BR. Like, if you like shooters and you like Call of Duty's gunplay, because I think what we can all agree on, right, that one thing that Call of Duty does is the gunplay mechanics. Like they're when you shoot a gun and you fire a gun, you feel like you are firing the gun. Can I get a kind of agreement across the board, or is this no?
You can get a hell yeah.
Yeah, I'd
Okay.
say.
Enigma?
No, it's a BR. It's a failure.
Enigma.
Grade my
Take out the
observations.
BR aspect of it and just you can't deny that Call of Duty.
I can't take the BR aspect out of it
Oh
because
my
that's
God.
literally all it fucking is.
Okay, so we're gonna Enigma, you're muted. You're done. You're out of here for a little bit. Okay, so for the majority of the show, for people that are sensible of this show, understand that Call of Duty does a very good job with their gunplay. What they have been lacking recently, and even in this Modern Warfare version, was the gunplay was so good that sometimes they over tweaked guns. So like the shotgun in Call of Duty was a fucking problem, where you could literally get tapped across the map with a goddamn shotgun. So what they've done with this mode in Warzone have really taken Call of Duty and what I think Call of Duty should be from now on. is it's this massive map. I mean, it's a BR, so it's massive map, closes in, circle closes in, forces you to fight, all of this kind of stuff. But what they have done is they've taken their guns and essentially dropped them into the map. You don't get to do any kind of attachments. You don't get to do any kind of changing of your weapons, of like what it looks like, how it functions, unless you do a custom loadout, and you have to do that pre-loading into the game. And you have to earn a drop or have it drop on the map to where you can get your custom loadout. But it completely changes this game and the playstyle to be a more tactical shooter. It still has that great gunplay feel of Call of Duty, but because the fights are now so open and you're forced into these like small combat arenas, or if you want to take long fights, you can. It just feels great. And they added this element of the gulag, which is where if you die, you have one shot. You go into the gulag and it's 1v1 in a gun game. And it's brilliant. And it's a gun game match. And if you win that match, you redeploy. What makes it interesting is that if you die 9 times out of 10, your team is with you in a fight, they may die with you. So now the gulag, because you're inside this prison and there's a bunch of people around you that are waiting for the gulag match to go on, I could be in the gulag and have one of my teammates calling out where the opponent is going. So that aspect plays into it. But on top of that, people on the outside of the gulag can throw rocks at people inside the gulag. So I'm taking damage from people that are also throwing rocks. And I've actually killed somebody that with a rock. I just happened to, the guy had 1 health. I hit him with a rock. He was dead. And so that is
you get to redeploy in that situation, or is the other person in the gulag?
No, the other person in the gulag does. He just knows that he won. So there's that element, but then on top of that, you're able to buy back your teammates and redeploy them as long as you have $4,500 cash. So it just is one of these things where it's not just once they're done, they're done. You have to be smart about in watching your angles and making sure that you're coming in at the right spot and taking fights properly and not getting third partied. And there's no fucking building. Thank fucking God that there's no building in this game. But it's just a well done game, and it's completely free. I really recommend that if you're a first person shooter and you do like Call of Duty, to really try this out and play it. And there's also a mode called Plunder. I don't play that mode. It's not fun in my opinion. It's kind of like a bank heist mode, but there's some flaws there.
My chat's saying they haven't played the BR much, but they are actually really enjoying Plunder. So if BRs aren't your thing, Plunder might very well be.
Plunder is a heist mode where it's not BR. So it's just it's on the same map. 150 people drop in. And your objective is to get out with the most amount of cash. And there are, contracts that show up, and this is in the BR too. There's contracts that show up that will target another team. There's contracts that say secure this area, open these caches, and they will produce money. And then from there, you go to a spawn with a helicopter, which you then call in the helicopter. Helicopter comes down. The entire area is alerted that the helicopter is coming in. And then you have to defend it while it's being hoisted up, or you drop it off. So my issue with that game is it becomes very campy, and it becomes a situation where, because the chopper spawn doesn't switch around the map, it's always in these same locations that where to go and sit and hide. And as I'm dying, I'm redeploying every 20 seconds or so, or 15 seconds. It becomes a situation where it's just cool, I'm just going to redeploy right back to the same area. You know what I mean? So I don't like that because it starts to take out the tactical aspect of the game. But if you don't like BRs, that is another phenomenal style of game. It basically takes Call of Duty and says, there's 150 people in this map, go. It's a big ass fucking, squad deathmatch. Go for it. So it is, and again, it's free. It's completely free. It's just a big ass download. It's 168 gigs, I think is what
it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Or something like that. Some ridiculous amount.
On top of the huge size of Call of Duty, the latest one.
Yeah.
That's a joke.
Yeah. I recently uninstalled Call of Duty and just installed it again to play that mode. It was 183 gigs.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
All together. It's
yeah, that's all together. That's not on top of whatever Call of Duty is on top of that. That's the whole thing is 183 gigs, and they don't allow you to download just that mode. You have to download the entire game.
Yeah. So that I wish they could have separated it. I don't know.
Especially since you can play it if you don't own the base game. You don't need
Yeah.
that base game downloaded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But
it's-
I only have
it's
one
fine.
really big kind of gripe about the BR and both of them, because both incorporate the armor, and I just hate the fact that the armor is just so constant, and you can just keep reapplying it, and it does so much to like help you against like another thing that I don't like is the sniping. When I snipe in those games, I want to like be able to really just destroy somebody, and from what it seems from what I've watched, a bolt action sniper that should be able to take somebody out in like 2 shots takes at least 3 if they have armor, and if they get covered, they can reapply that armor like instantly almost. So that's my only downfall with it.
Here's what I'll say about it. Right, is at first I did not like the armor system. I thought that it was one of the same, like your same thing. Like it took the TTK or time to kill was too much. But what I will say is I have switched my loadout to running a 10 mag SOCOM. I think it's a 428 or 448 round. Which again, for anybody that knows and understands firearms, like that is a heavy duty round. It is a no joke, like knock you on your ass round, but you get 10 bullets. I am able to burn through people hella quick. In fact, to the point that I've been told I was cheating because it was just like down, like, you know, and I can really burn through their armor and those things. The sniping
needs to be a bit more for me.
I almost disagree too, because there's been times where I've been hit like with a sniper and it insta downs me from 3 full armor to getting cracked down to nothing.
I've not seen that at all. From everyone I've seen like 3 shots at least to kill, like 2 shots, 3 most of the time is what I've seen.
I mean, I know with a headshot, it's an insta down. Like a headshot's an
that should
insta
be
down.
any time.
But I've been cracked in the chest once. I mean, they may have had stopping power rounds, so I don't know. Obviously,
Yeah.
I don't know their loadout on that at that point. But I mean, I don't know. I'm okay with it, and I actually think that at first I was very upset with thermals because everybody runs thermals and I run thermals as well. But this game does a very good job of combating it, unlike Tarkov, where
Right.
if you run Ghost, thermal is pointless. Like you can't
Right.
see somebody right now. I have learned to play with thermals to be able to recognize the difference between someone's, you know, that is still running Ghost and like the outline, like I can still see it. So it still works in my, like I still use it, but I don't know. It's just, it's well, I think it's well done. I think it has revitalized my love for not only Call of Duty, but BRs. Like, you guys know that I loved Apex. You guys know that I loved it. I was not a big Fortnite fan, you know, or afterward, but I really do.
Confirm Sin's going back to Fortnite.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I think this is, you should at least try Plunder, try something, try the mode.
Yeah, it's free. You might as well.
Yeah, it really is worth a shot.
Mhm.
It's not bad. So
Yeah.
I think that covers everything we've played. Did you guys want to talk about the Konami pickup? I know that was on the.
Well,
on the
we
list.
did have, if anybody wanted to touch on, we did have Chicken Boy asking what our thoughts on Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Any thoughts on that?
I love it.
Yeah.
Game of the year, easy. It makes sense. It just makes sense.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I have unfortunately I have a situation where I can't finish that game. It's because I played it when I was, and then went into an episode, and it's very hard for me to go back to something. You know, for any of the listeners that don't know,
It sticks with
yeah,
you.
I have a disorder called Klein-Levin syndrome. You can go to my channel, research it. You can look it up, Klein-Levin. In fact, I'll have Scruffy put it in the links in the YouTube so you can go and take a look at it and see. But it's a sleeping disorder that knocks me on my ass into a coma for a month. And I had an episode right at like the day after playing Sekiro, so it's very hard for me. As much as I fucking love Souls games, and I think Scruffy and I are not Scruffy, but Bill and I are like the two on the show that really fucking love Souls games, and Bill loves them more than I do. But just, it really is hard for me because I think it is a phenomenal game. From what I got to play of it, it's fucking phenomenal. Like, it's just, I don't really think that there was anything in that game that I could honestly say needed to be changed. Like, I think it was pretty well.
The only issue with that game is the replayability, and that's just in the fact that it's not a game where you have like make a build yourself. It's just a static character doing static character
Right.
things. So it's to be expected. The gameplay itself and what it is 100% solid.
Did they do an NG Plus mode on that? Or no?
Yeah, it's got the standard 6 levels of New Game Plus that you can go in. It continues increasing difficulty. And there's also Kuro's Charm where you can give that to him, and it adds another layer of difficulty where if you block, but you don't do like a perfect deflect, you still take chip damage, and it like really hits your stamina bar hard. So you can only like block 2 attacks before you're staggered.
Right.
It's pretty unforgiving then, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say if you're looking for the game that is the one where you can do different play styles, go play Neo. Neo is another phenomenal game. Have you played Neo at all, Bill?
Yeah, I wasn't the hugest fan of Neo 1, but I hear Neo 2 is
I hear Neo 2 is
amazing.
Now, what I
Yes.
know me and Enigma are excited for, Enigma is the oh frick. I totally just forgot the name of it.
That's
I totally
great.
blanked.
Is it
That's some
the
great information.
You were just telling me about it the other day.
it's the revival of Club Penguin. I know. I
Yeah,
know.
that was it, yeah. Going back to Space Station 13.
No, the
or
new
whatever it's
Witcher
called.
style game of the samurai. The
Oh,
Oh, you're talking about Ghost
Tsushima?
of
Ghost of
Tsushima.
Yeah, Ghost of
Tsushima. Yeah,
Tsushima,
thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah,
I
no,
just can't get
it looks
secure
good,
about
man.
Yeah.
It looks very good. The actual graphics behind it and the gameplay look fucking phenomenal. The only problem is it's a fucking
Right, it's
PlayStation
an exclusive, right? But it definitely does look really good.
I'm really pissed that Neo 2 is a fucking exclusive for the PlayStation. I was really upset about
Oh,
that.
is that going to be
Yeah,
too?
it is. It's out. Neo 2's out now.
Oh.
Like you
No, I
can
never
you
went
can-
under my radar.
get it. You can get it
Yeah.
now.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it really. I mean, it'll eventually come to PC like the other one did. But I just wish it was on PC now. For it. But I mean, I'm still waiting to see what From Software and this George and the R.R. Martin game is like. I think we're.
Oh yeah, that's
You know how From Software is, man. They'll give you a snippet 2 years ahead of time. They won't say anything until it's like 2 months from release, and then they'll just bombard you.
Yeah.
well, not just that, but you also got George R.R. Martin that still hasn't finished the fucking 7th book.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
We're not gonna see that game until like 2033.
Yeah.
He'll be fucking dead.
Mhm.
There's rumors it was dropping in July, but I think those
The game
have
itself was
been-
dropping.
Yeah,
I doubt
but
it.
that's
that.
been they're saying more close to November now is what
I don't
source
even think we'll see.
speculation
I
is.
don't even think we'll see it this year.
Hmm.
I think
I
it'll.
think we'll see it this year. I just don't know when. I'm hopeful this year because I need that. I need it.
I don't know with the virus, we might not see some of the games that we were looking at.
Dude, I would love to see a Bloodborne 2. Or a. I'd like to see Bloodborne on PC.
I was just going to say, we need to put it on
I'm
PC.
positive it'll come to PC at some point.
I hope.
I mean, I would love to see Bloodborne on PC or Bloodborne. Bloodborne to me is. I prefer Bloodborne to Dark Souls. That may be controversial. Like
I do
That's
too.
my opinion. Bloodborne's my favorite
yeah.
game of all time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm happy that that's your favorite game of all time. I can't go there and say that, but I mean, a lot of people really like Dark Souls. To me, even in Dark Souls 3, because Dark Souls 3 came after Bloodborne, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like they took a step backward with Dark Souls, like 3, and the Bloodborne combat system and just style of game, story. Everything was just fucking great, man. And that's one of the very few games of those. Like normally with Dark Souls, whenever I beat them. I've played that game NG Plus, I think 4 times total. I've gone through NG Plus mode on four times. So, but I need that. I need a Bloodborne 2 or Bloodborne remastered on fucking PC.
Yeah.
That would be great. Give me that shit at like 144 frames. Oh my god. So, and we can touch on, and then I think probably move out to end the show. But what is your guys' opinions on Horizon Zero Dawn coming to PC? Are you any of you guys care about that?
Kind of
I will
excited
be
for it.
I will be playing that. I'm very excited.
Do you
Yeah,
care
I've
about the
heard- I've
FOV?
heard I've heard very good things about it to begin with, and just having it come to the PC is just it's
What did you say, Sam?
icing on the cake.
The FOV slider, so it will not have an FOV slider. So you will be locked in at its FOV.
They won't have an FOV slider on the actual settings, but I guarantee you somebody will put an FOV slider in it. They'll go and fucking fuck with the INI file, guaranteed.
I think it's fine. I have that game for the PlayStation. I can't play it because it doesn't feel like it's made for a controller. Like that just doesn't feel like a game that should be played on a controller for some reason. I think the way the archery and stuff is and the way they value precision, I don't get that feel. I might just be shaky on a controller.
You're not. So actually, I don't know if you saw, Guerrilla Games actually came out and it's pissed off a shit ton of PlayStation fans. They came out and said that this was the way the game was supposed to be done. Like, we developed this game to be played on PC. It was not supposed to be played on a console. And it fucking infuriated PlayStation owners. Like, fans were fucking
PlayStation owners
pissed.
get a little pissy when their exclusives get,
don't. Yeah. Oh my God,
A
man.
little.
Like, yeah.
I'm a PlayStation boy through and through, but I could give a shit less if all of Sony's exclusives went onto PC as well. Like, there's rumor that Sony's like may do something similar to what Xbox is doing, where there's going to be like an online pass where you can get access to them.
Well, they've already got
all
it.
for that.
They already have it. They've already got a PlayStation.
Come on,
I think
PlayStation
it's called
Now?
Direct or something like that. Yeah, PlayStation Now or whatever it is. You can play it. It's shitty. It's like terrible.
Yeah, but it's not it's different from the Xbox, because the Xbox style, I can download the game and play it.
Yeah,
I have to stream with
that's
Xbox
what I'm
now.
saying.
I have to stream it, so it's not a good quality.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying though. Is like they already have one.
I don't think
it's a streaming
Gotcha.
service.
either of them are decent right now. I feel like give it a few years, and I think both of the, well, I don't know anything about the PlayStation, but the Xbox I think is going to.
I'll tell you right now, Xbox is going to do it this year. Xbox is like, there's
Xbox is
already the
already
rumors
away.
are saying that all of their shit's going to Steam. So, and that the new Xbox will
Well,
have
there's no
Steam.
rumors.
No, I'm saying that the new
They
the
came out
rumor
and
is that
said
the
it,
new
yeah.
Xbox will have Steam. Like,
That's going to be great, honestly.
Yeah, but back to Horizon Zero Dawn, I'm excited. The only issue I had with that game was that it did not feel good on a controller, and that took me out of it because I felt like I felt like I was playing with a handicap. Like, my hands weren't doing what I needed them to do to hit these weak spots on these dinosaurs.
yeah, I mean, is it
Robots.
do you know like what the replay value of that game is? I mean, is it the standard style? Because that's my only other
I don't
issue.
think
is-
there's replay value, but I think there's so much. Like, I think it's got like with DLC, because the PC version's coming with all the DLC. It's like the
it's a
complete edition, right?
Yeah.
It's got a significant amount of content, not quite Witcher level, but it's got like 100+ hours with DLC.
Okay, because I mean that's my biggest thing too. Like with some of these games, it's just if there's no replay value, like what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, obviously it's a good game, it's a good experience, but like even like Hellblade, phenomenal fucking game. I recommend playing it. You know, Plague's Tale, same thing. It's just like once I played it, I don't see the point in. It's just very hard for me to own because I'm just like, why am I going to spend the money on this when I'm just going to beat it and be done with it? You know what I mean? Like,
I think this game has enough content to warrant getting it, just because it's like with Witcher. You would never want to really replay Witcher just because there's so much and it would take so long to redo again. But that initial playthrough is going to be amazing because of the level of content, and this has that to a lesser extent, but it's still to that massive amount of content extent.
Yeah, but Witcher did.
I think Witcher's got a lot of replayability on
because you could. It has
I
branching.
the side quests.
It has branching stories, right? Like,
Yeah.
just because of the side quests and the decision making that you have to make when it comes to like a lot of the investigation stuff that you do, like any decision that you make can completely alter how your outcome comes for that side quest. I don't think that's going to be the case with Horizon though. Like there's not enough replayability. I don't think it'll be a great first experience, But yeah, no, I don't think it'll have a whole lot of replayability.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for that skewed opinion. I'm
Oh
not
no, you're good, man.
It's okay.
honestly a big fan of Witcher.
How dare you?
Yeah,
How
no,
dare
look,
you
wait,
fucking
look.
talk bad about our fucking Lord and Savior, CD Projekt Red, you shit.
Look, we muted Scruffy. I went on my old man boomer rant, so I got
Yeah.
muted. Enigma got muted. It's your time to get muted. So you got muted. You didn't throw a coin to your Witcher, so you can fuck off, and you know, it is what it is. So
It happens. We're
Yeah.
all still here. We're all still gamers.
yeah, so well, anyway, I think that pretty much wraps up the show. I don't think there's anything else on the docket to go over, if I'm not mistaken.
We
These
can hit the
transitions,
Konami thing
bro.
next time.
These transitions.
What is it? The Konami. I mean, we can talk about. Look, we can talk about Konami. I'm good with talking about the Konami thing. I mean, Sony basically Konami's IPs all basically went free agent, and Sony bought them up, right? Didn't Sony pick up?
It's not confirmed, but they're in the like the dealings process. There's not a deal been made, but they're talking figures right now.
And a lot.
These franchises are Metal Gear, Silent Hill, and Castlevania.
So aside from Castlevania, really the other two were everyone pretty much thought were PlayStation exclusives anyway. You know what I mean? Like when you think Metal Gear, you think PlayStation. When you think Silent Hill, you think PlayStation. Well, honestly, when you think Silent Hill, you think, wasn't that a bad movie that came out like fucking a couple years ago?
Dude,
or whatever
I
else?
love that movie too. Again,
I
I'm
do
signing
kinda
on
too.
to every bad
Dude,
Yeah.
game movie.
I'm pretty sure they made a
Not
newer
only that,
movie, and that
right?
one was shit. Not the original Silent Hill was fine, but didn't they make like a Silent Hill Retribution or some kind
Yeah,
of?
that was shit.
That
Yeah.
was the shitty version. Like, no, the one with Pyramid Head and like it would change into hell. Like that one was great. I like that one.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm really
Not
kind of
only all
excited
those
for the
franchises.
Silent Hill being bought up by Sony. I'm excited to see what they do with that.
I'm not excited.
Not only are they getting all those franchises, but they're also getting Death Stranding 2. You forgot a box at the front door.
Oh yeah, great. Fuck, I forgot.
Damn.
But
Forgot. Death
that
Stranding.
is a cool thing.
Man
'cause
standing.
Sony owns Kojima Productions, and if they do get these,
I don't think they own it,
franchises
do they? Do they own Kojima?
They do.
No. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, they can keep his
Yeah,
fucking nutty
Kojima
ass.
Productions works under Sony. But with that in mind, they do have plans on letting Kojima finish the Silent Hills game that he originally wanted to do. He's going to
PT?
take back. Yeah, PT.
Yeah. Now I was
Right.
wondering about that.
I
He's
don't-
going to take back control of the Metal Gear series to whatever extent he
Oh
wants to.
fuck.
Great. So it's just going to get even more weird.
God damn it, dude.
And-
Fucking amazing.
They're talking. So I've read a bunch of speculation search on Castlevania because I've recently played them on my stream. I'm a big fan of the Castlevania franchise as a whole. The two routes that there's speculation about going is rebooting the reboot that they did for the
Reboot the
PS3.
reboot.
Yeah. Reboot the reboot, that was the God of War style Xbox 360 line, the Lords of Shadow. Reboot that series, or start doing main series installments in the 3D style, kind of like it was for the PS2, but make it more Souls or Bloodborne-esque in its mechanics and RPG.
I always
elements.
thought Castlevania should be like a Bloodborne style or Souls.
I do too.
game.
And going back and playing this PS2 games, they're not far off from that. It doesn't have like the weapons and stuff like that, but
Dude, you want to do
For the
you want to do homage, man? Make that a fucking 2D like old like Salt and Sanctuary style Souls like game in the Castlevania
be cool.
world. Fuck, dude, that would be great.
That would be sweet.
I got the $1 million idea for Kojima on the next Death Stranding game. He just needs to make it like Euro Truck Simulator, where you're just a truck driver instead
No,
of a
and-
delivery man.
and
You just drive the truck around.
In the
It's
next,
just-
Yeah.
in the
It's
next,
just full of babies.
in the next one, you're just the box. Like you're gonna be,
Yeah,
you're
you're
gonna play
the
the
box.
fucking box. Like
But when are we gonna see it where you are the baby?
Yeah, you're just the baby getting.
that's
carried
the
around.
DLC.
Just looking up like, where are we going?
Like, sorry,
I
I did,
will-
we completely derailed Bill and the
Yeah.
Castlevania stuff. So
Sorry, Bill.
Sorry, bro.
You're good.
Sorry.
You're good. But yeah, I think if they take it into a Souls-like route, that because they've struggled bringing it to a 3D play space. The Castlevania games have always been dominated by the handhelds, the 2D side scrollers. Ever since Symphony of the Night, they've just been rekindling that style game, which is fine. That's why there's a Metroidvania genre in general. But I feel like bringing new life into a 3D realm with that, I think that direction, a Souls-like esque.
Give it to From Software. Give it to From Software. Let From Software have Castlevania, bro.
Dude, From Software can take every one of my loved game franchises, and I would be fine with
From
it.
Software Pokemon game. Let's go.
I will stand From Software for the rest of my life until they do something like kill me. If they murdered me, I might be upset with them, but I might just haunt their studio just to see what
You'd
their
be
next
like,
game's
you know,
going to be.
this is warranted. I understand it. I get it. It's warranted. I understand. No, Kojima's nutty ass needs to go away somewhere. He needs to go be put in a home and left to doodle on the walls or something. I don't know, but because guys, keep in mind that this is the same person that had the idea that he should make a game that when you lose, the disc explodes. Like, so just keep that in mind. Like, this is the same person that literally thought that it was a good idea to make a one-time purchase of a game, and if you fuck up, it's done. The game is done. It's over. It's perma own. You don't get to play it anymore. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't trust Kojima. I don't like Kojima. I don't think that his games are good. I don't think his storylines are any good, and I think he's an overhyped.
Yo, Metal Gear was good, man.
Metal Gear was not. Metal Gear was not
up
good
until 5. 5 wasn't great. Metal Gear up until that point was.
Metal Gear
solid.
stopped being good at 2, Sons of Liberty and Snake Eater. Those are the two.
I respect him as a creator. I think his fucking creations are weird, but so was like Vincent Van Gogh's, so was a lot of the other artists.
Yeah, but
art, like they always say, art is subjective, but I do agree with you.
What did he create?
His fucking video games are fucking weird.
When was the last time that Kojima created something?
Just barely with Death Stranding.
What's the question?
That's the question. That's the thing is, what did he create? Everyone is like,
something
oh,
real or something totally made up. Like,
no,
Yeah,
like,
you can
okay,
hate on Kojima all day, but that game got people talking, good or bad.
He didn't have any fucking my issue is that it's this idea that like he is the or you related it to Vincent Van Gogh. No, Vincent Van Gogh painted the fucking picture. Kojima didn't go out there and code Death Stranding or whatever else. And to say that Death Stranding is a fucking good game is laughable to every extent of what the game is. That game is a fucking tech demo for how how walking should be in video games. That's not a fucking game. Even Kojima is like, he tries to play off as like, oh, I'm too high intellectual to explain the story. No, fucker, you don't know what the story is in that fucking game. Like, you don't know what happened, you don't understand it, and you just kind of was like, I don't know. You know, you're too dumb to understand it too. So, but like Metal Gear hasn't been good since Metal Gear 3. Like the Metal Gear 4 was fucking insane. And it was just a showcase demo of what the system could do.
Old Snake was awesome, dude. Like that game was really good. And it brought a bunch of good, like it brought the Revengeance storyline into the main line. It was a pivotal game, and it was really well done.
Who was the hot girl in the one game? The hot
which
girl
one? There's
the bikini girl.
Come about
in 5.
That's 5.
Oh, okay.
Quiet.
I love that game.
We don't talk about 5.
Dude,
I love that game.
Whatever, bro.
I'm just saying.
Oh my god. Anyway, I'm
on your side, man. Like I said,
Yeah.
he's fucking. It's some of his creations. I'm just like, dude, what?
Doesn't he get them from dreams,
Fucking
or was that
insane.
something I just heard?
Like
No,
the
he's
whole Death
obsessed with
Stranding,
Western culture.
the
so
whole Death Stranding game in itself, I was like, are you fucking insane,
Yeah.
dude? You're literally gonna tell me that you're gonna charge $60 to be a UPS man with a baby strapped to your chest? This is fucking weird.
like, and even
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
Even the thing about it too is like the gameplay mechanics of it were not good. Like I watched that game and watched numerous people play that game, and within an hour and a half time frame of watching somebody go through this fight, I was like, or one of the DT moments or whatever the fuck it was called, I was like, oh, this is how you cheese this fight, because they didn't think about how to do this combat mechanic at all, because the only thing that they focused on was the walking side of things and how Norman Reedus' penis is going to look. Like that was the focus of that game. and you can't deny. And like there were so many other cool concepts that they could have done and could have actually fledged out, like the whole multiplayer aspect of the world building side, that like you were there in the same multiverse. Why not go down that angle? Why not go down this angle of like, we're all connected in this world, but you don't know that I'm here, but why am I seeing things that are being built from other sides of things? Nope, we're not even going to explain that like at all. We're just gonna fucking have it in here, and it didn't work all the time, and it was jank and whatever else. Like it and again, even like Silent Hill, like the PT or whatever else, like looking at that game, I'm like, this is not a Silent Hill game. This is a fucking horror game that is not Silent Hill. It's not even like, people are like, oh, you know,
I don't think we got enough of that game to really see what it was.
I got enough to know like it's a game that's supposed to be a psychological thriller that's supposed to do what, again, like Bill said, Kojima loves Western culture. He loves Western horror films. He likes Western ways that we do action movies. He likes Western dramas. Like all of his movies can really be summed, or all games can be summed up as like, they're supposed to be cinematic experiences, not fucking games.
Well, you also need to realize he wanted to be a movie director. That's
go
his
make
primary...
fucking movies.
But he sees games as the next medium for narrative storytelling, and that's why he's a game dev. He sees that as the future of narrative, and he wanted to jump into it early. I've done a little bit of research on the guy because I really, no matter what the fuck anybody has to say, I think the Metal Gear's like story wise is very good.
Can you explain to me this, like off stream? We'll talk about. Can you explain to me the story from one going all past? I understand it.
Kingdom Hearts.
I understand it. You can, if you can explain Kingdom Hearts, then great. That's another, but that's a whole nother can of fucking worms that we can get into on a later show.
It isn't just Mickey Mouse defeating like ghosts and shadows.
It is a fucking. That is a fucking. And I'm sure I'm gonna piss off a lot of our viewers. Kingdom Hearts is a fucking dumb. Kingdom Hearts is a dumb fucking shit show of a fucking storyline, and it's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. And the fact that they shoehorned it into a goddamn Disney franchise is stupid.
So it's the greatest ambition. The greatest crossover.
You also like fucking Animal Crossing, so get out of here.
Hey, Animal Crossing's coming out tomorrow, isn't it?
And yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Technically, Animal Crossing's out now. So
yeah, now 12.
We all hear the angry rees.
Yeah, absolutely. Re it up. Re it up. Go ahead.
Okay.
You can come hit my channel up and listen to these rants whenever you want, or follow me on Twitter and yell at me there. I'll be more than happy to argue with you back.
Yep. We should start calling like Snicker rants or something.
It's not, bro.
I think we should, dude. Like, we need to get sponsored one of these days. Like Snickers, hit me up.
Really?
we need to talk.
It's like perfect.
Like not the other Snickers, but the actual Snickers. Once everything's done and we can actually buy your shit from stores again, you know, yeah, whatever it is. But yeah, hit me up. We need to get sponsored by Snickers.
Anyway, guys,
we'll have a Snickers moment, whatever.
Oh my god, fuck all y'all here. Fuck all y'all right here.
Animal Crossing again. We gotta.
The other two can't see my camera, but fuck you right here. There's a finger being there's two fingers being played or thrown up, so you guys can see what those are. Guys, it's been an amazing show. There's not many shows out there that I can tell you, if there are really any, that are as real as what this is. And this is why you come here, because you're gonna hear me rant and rave about shit that you probably don't agree with, that nobody really agrees with, but in my mind I'm right, so it's the only way to be. You're gonna have Enigma, who you're gonna wonder who the hell he is and never be able to guess it. You're gonna be able to see again the beautiful sexy mane that is Billy the Squid, and hear his opinions on why Kojima is a god and he's not. And then you're going to be able to listen to Scruffy and his saw dudes and have opinions on games and series that he's never played, never heard of, never watched a movie, and never been around because he's too fucking young. So,
or because I like to contribute and see what I might like. I don't know.
In any case, guys, you get a very real show. So thank you to all of our viewers that have been come in and watch this. We do this show every 2 weeks, twice a month, pretty much on every single Thursday, unless something changes. If you guys do want to be able to follow the show more closely, you can follow all of our channels. I recommend that you watch all of our channels. In fact, I actually recommend that you watch all of the stream live through CADGAR to be able to interact with everybody that's going on in chats across all three streams at once, and be able to
also subscribe to our YouTube.
Yes,
our YouTube. We upload it. I try to get it uploaded within a week of every show. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's not, but you can catch them all there. There's Enigma's got some YouTube links going around. Definitely subscribe. We're trying to push for that real domain. So right now it is just a jumble of letters.
And in any case, you're not going to find another place on the internet that is going to be as raw and as energetic as the Pre-Patch podcast is. So make sure to tune in live. Make sure to hit that sub button. Follow all of our channels, guys. Again, you can find myself on twitch.tv/S1N3N. Scruffy, where can everybody find you at?
Oh, right here, Agent Scruffy, twitch.tv, Twitter, anywhere. We're here.
Makers Inc., right? Go ahead.
Yeah, Makers Inc. I'll plug my me and my friend's YouTube channel. Check us out. We do a lot of honestly, we do a lot of random stuff. We do a lot of food content, a lot of vlogs, a lot of just like
they put a female skincare face mask on the other day and ate burritos.
It was
mildly entertaining.
Yeah. So definitely check us out there. I'll get some links in the chat for that.
I don't understand your guys' videos.
You don't understand anything, Sid.
Bill, where can people find your info at?
I am on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Billy_the_squid. My YouTube content takes it's reviews, it's talks about stuff similar to what we talk about on the podcast. It's random ass shit like me doing a Slay the Spire run at 200% speed, or me making random staring at the camera talking about tentacles videos. So you don't know what you're gonna get there. But yeah, Billy the Squid on all platforms.
And Enigma, you will catch in all of our channels. He is the dedicated mod and lurker in all of our channels, and we love him to death. So again, guys, amazing show. You have a wonderful night, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Peace.